No, she didn't want to be kissed.
She doesn't like that.
No. This is a Burmese python. You ever been in this position on a podcast before?
You were charged by an elephant in India.
There was like a field with beautiful trees. A wild elephant just starts screaming and then just smacks a tree with his trunk. The tree flew apart. I started running through the forest, and finally we get to the edge of the stream. And so I just jumped and I rolled down the 12 feet and landed on my back poof, into the stream. And the elephant gets to the edge of this cliff. And he was so pissed, he picked up a stick, raised the stick up in his trunk and threw the stick at me. And the stick poof, right next to my head. I was like, I'm alive.
In this 500th special episode of Figuring Out, we have Paul Rosolie, a conservationist and author known for going where most people wouldn't even dare to look. You've tracked tigers on foot in India.
When you see a tiger in the wild, they're so big and their paws are so massive, and there's only, 5,000 of them left on Earth? And it's one of the greatest terrestrial predators we've ever had. There's nothing else like a tiger.
If you want to understand what's really happening inside the world's most dangerous and important rainforest, this episode is a must-watch. You've said that Amazon at night is a festival of sex and death.
Call the Amazon the greatest natural battlefield on Earth, because in every acre of these vast, tremendous trees, you have frogs and snakes, reptiles, amphibians, birds, mammals, bats, trying to eat and trying to mate. So the jungle at night is incredible.
What's the most disturbing illegal thing which is moving right now, which we might not be aware of?
Next to guns, drugs, and women, the illegal trade in wildlife is the 4th largest black market on Earth. And so that's incredibly dark and disturbing.
The export just from Amazon and African jungles is about $23 billion a year.
It's insane.
Who are the people who are buying these animals?
You have people that believe that tiger penis wine will make yours larger. And then elephants for the ivory, rhinos for the ivory.
And which country is buying the most?
China.
You've made an argument that if you remove humans, nothing will change. But if you remove ants, the whole ecological system will collapse.
They're engineering the whole systems. And so if you removed ants, all of our ecosystems would crash.
What's one animal which is at the verge of extinction? Tell me, how do you understand what are the snakes like, non-venomous ones, venomous ones? How do you identify?
So one of the best ways to educate people about snakes is to show them a snake. This is a small baby animal, so you have to be protecting her. She's so beautiful.
It's not a tree, bro.
Hey, look at me.
This episode is brought to you by our travel partner GoIbibo. Check out the link in the description to download the app and avail exclusive first-time user discounts. Before we start today's episode, I have a small request. If you find these conversations valuable, please subscribe to this channel. It helps us bring more powerful guests and valuable insights for you. Tell me if someone's watching you for the first time and they have no clue who you are. If they're watching you for the first time, how would you describe them? Describe yourself to them.
I'm a person who tries my very best to protect rainforests and wildlife around the world. My job is the founder and field director of an organization called Jungle Keepers, and we're protecting 136,000 acres of the Amazon rainforest, which is hard to imagine how big that is. And it's hard to imagine how many animals and trees and undiscovered medicines, entire tribes of humans live in there that have no idea about the outside world. So protecting rainforests is crucial. Rainforest only exists on 6% of the landmass of Earth, and we're destroying it so fast because it's filled with minerals and nutrients and endangered species and all these resources, but we need it. This little belt of rainforest contains, it's only 6% of the landmass, and it contains 50% of the life on Earth. So it's this incredible avatar, treasure, magic land that we're wiping out, and we can't live without it. So that's my job, is to protect the animals and the rainforest from being destroyed by us.
And when did you get an idea? What was the first time you thought maybe this is something that can be turned into a jungle keeper?
Yeah. Well, first I spent years, and I tell this now because a lot of people message me and they go, how do I get your job? I want to do what you do. And I'm like, look, first of all, you never want to replicate somebody else's path. And so you want to blaze your own path and do it your way. But first, what you have to do is find a master to study under. You have to find someone doing the work that you want to do at the highest level, the way you want to do it.
Yeah.
And so I had JJ, who was a tracker and a scientist and this incredible jungle man. And so I spent 5, maybe even 10, I would say about 7 years just studying from him. And so he would take me on adventures, basically these expeditions. We would go into parts of the Amazon that no one's allowed. And his family is allowed because they're indigenous. And so they go on ceremonial hunting trips deep into the jungle. And we'd go for 10 days in an open canoe just up the. And so when it rains, you're freezing cold. When the sun is out, your skin burns. And I'm talking about 8 hours of sunburn. And then the following day, it's freezing cold all day because rain, sun. You have no protection from the elements. And we just take our clothes off. It's actually easier to be naked in the jungle in those times because if you get your clothing wet, then you have nothing dry at night. So we'd hunt for our food and fish for our food and learn the forest. And they said, take your shoes off if you're going to hunt with us. Your shoes are too loud. And so I learned to walk barefoot in the Amazon. And you just study and you learn, why do local people turn into loggers and gold miners, and how do the local people relate to their forest? And so 7 years of study like that. And then, at that point, then I started to do a little bit of telling people, okay, I've had these amazing adventures. I've seen anacondas. I've seen these amazing ecosystems like the floating forest. And I'd learned enough about the jungle that people started asking me about the jungle. And then I started saying, well, I know what we need to do to protect this. And I said, if we just had the funding, we could do this. And so you have the logistical know-how.
Yeah.
And then I had the plan, but it took all those years. And I had to have all of that base knowledge. It's like doing your PhD in the wild. And then I started going, okay, if we were called the jungle keepers, we could be the ones protecting the jungle. And at first it was just an idea. And then I drew the logo. And then I started going, and if you can speak it, you can make it happen. If you can just, as you start saying it out loud, you go, I'm going to run a marathon. You start telling everyone, Mom, I'm going to run a marathon. My friends, I'm going to run a marathon. Start telling them, and then you go start running. And it's like, then they expect you to run a marathon.
Yeah.
So I said, I'm going to protect the Amazon.
But tell me the day one, okay, when you're in Amazon, in your book, you also mentioned that JJ, he doesn't teach you anything. He shows you something, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So you just learn by observing. You don't actually learn by, there's no course or something that he walks you through.
He would push you into it. You learn by experiencing. So the first time we were going up the river, and JJ said, I know about the medicines, and I'm going to teach you about the trees, and I'm going to teach you this. Okay, cool. And I said, well, I love snakes, so I'm going to catch snakes. He said, really? He said, I'm so scared of snakes. He said, my people, he goes, we kill the snakes. I said, I love snakes. I said, you're not killing snakes around me. I'm going to teach you how to do snakes. So we're going up the river for one whole day. We camp on the side of the river out in the open in the middle of the Amazon. That's how deep we're going. You go for 10 hours from the nearest place. And this isn't like the jungle anywhere else. This isn't like you go and there's a village. No, you go and there's just jungle. Like Earth, the way the day God made it. Like it's just planet like it was 10,000 years ago, just jungle from horizon to horizon. We're just going on this little river. Camp on the side of the river. Second day. Now we're 7 hours on the second day. And we see this big snake on the side of the river. Big, athletic looking colobrid. And I go, look at that whip snake. And JJ's like, great. Stop the boat. And he goes, come on. Shirt off. He goes, let's go. And he jumps into the Amazon River. Now, I'm from New York. So I'm going, aren't there stingrays and piranhas and anacondas and caiman and all of these terrible things in there? And he's like, no, come on. We get up into our necks. And so that's the first example where he just goes, let's go. I went, shit. And I put my feet down on the bottom of the river and it's sand. It's all clean. I said, don't we have to worry about stinging? He said, don't worry. Come on. He said, you catch that snake. We didn't catch the snake because it was daytime and the snake was fast. But I went, whoa. Most of the scientists I know, they wear big boots and they have, insect repellent and long sleeves and, glasses and hats and all these things to protect them like it's a spacesuit. JJ's method, because he's local indigenous, was you take off your shirt and pants. You only need a machete. That's part of your arm. That's part of your body now, the machete. And so I started learning like that. The first time we saw a crocodile, he said, you think you can catch that? I said, I think so. He goes, great, grab it. So I had to grab my first crocodile, just jump on the neck and restrain it. And so, my job when I went there, I should say, this is not just jumping on animals. It was also that I had a research position doing research on birds. So someone who is doing their doctorate in macaws, studying the macaw populations all around the world. There's, I think, 16 something species of macaws. Most of them are endangered or extinct in the wild because people want the colorful feathers. Their habitat's being destroyed. Their trees are being cut down. And in this virgin part of the Amazon, there's still wild, like just clouds of red and blue flying across the sky. The most beautiful birds, these huge parrots. And so my job was to sit there every morning from like 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. just looking at where the birds come. They come to this one spot on the river. And so how many birds this hour? What's the weather conditions? So I'd have to put in my half a day of research, and the rest of the day, they said, the whole Amazon rainforest is yours. Go nuts. And there were no rules. No rules whatsoever. That was a cool thing because it was JJ's research station. So he just went, yeah.
Go mad.
Go mad. I said, I'm going to go out at night with just my flashlight. He said, go. I said, I don't know what time I'm going to be back. He said, I hope you survive. It was just no rules. It was all up to me. So you're walking through this place of trees that are 160 feet tall with vines, and there's jaguars, and I was great, man. I'd been kept in school with rules my whole life, and you have to go. Can I go to the bathroom? Shut up. Yeah.
So tell me, if I followed you for one day, like what you're explaining sounds like a different world.
Yeah.
Right. You come from this world, and you said the moment you see a snake, your first thought in your mind was, oh, aren't they going to be like something in the water, or isn't the snake going to bite, or something? This will happen, that will happen. So your human brain, your modern world brain kicks in, right? So if I follow you in the Amazon for the first time with you, at what point of the day I stop recognizing the rules of this world? At what point just I forget that I come from a different world, and this jungle becomes a new world for me?
I think really quickly, because you're on this boat and you're going up this river, and you almost can look back over your shoulder and look at like your civilization's back there. And then there's the feeling of knowing that there's no police, there's no ambulance, there's no help if anything goes wrong. So if you're following me and one of us breaks our ankle, the other one has to carry him. And you're in the wilderness, and in the jungle, if you get off the boat and you go into the jungle, you couldn't see 10, 15 feet that way. There's so much plants in the way that you have to rely on your machete. You'd have to rely on me for every step, because if you take a step in the wrong direction, there might be a wasp nest under that leaf. If you get surrounded by wasps, you could be stung so much you die. If you take a step in the wrong direction, there's thorns that are this big. You trip, that thorn goes straight through your neck. And so anything can happen in this jungle. It's also, again, it's not that dangerous, but what could happen? I've had people standing right next to me slip, fall, and break their arm in half. I've had people standing next to me and trip, fall, and put their hand through the thorns. And so I go, don't touch that. I'm like, oh, he touched the tree. And now it's like, he's got, I'm like, can you watch out for that mud? It's slippery. She broke her arm. I'm like I'm always trying to keep people safe.
But at what point this awareness kicks in?
Again,
there has to be some point, right? Like,
yeah, it's pretty soon. For some people, it's going to be the first day, the first night, the next morning. A lot of times when you see the dawn come up over the jungle. But what really happens is the first time our boat hits the ground and we can't get it out, and you have to jump in the river and you have to push. So here's the interesting thing about the jungle. Here's the interesting thing about all nature, is that it doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, what religion you are, what color you are. It doesn't matter anything. The rocks and the rain and the river, they have their own rules, and we have to play by their rules, and they're the original rules, and they're real. And so if our boat gets stuck and the river is dropping because it hasn't rained in days, we might not be able to leave that spot for a week. And so we have to camp there. And then we have to figure out how to get food once we run out of food. We might not have a week of food with us. How do we protect ourselves from the sun? Do we go in the jungle where there's mosquitoes? Do we stay out here where there's sandflies? Do you know how to catch piranhas? And it's like you have to, And then, oh wait, now it's raining. Now we have the opposite problem. Now the river's going up 10, 15 feet in 4 hours. Now the boat's racing downriver and there's trees the size of a truck coming down the river. And we have to say, holy shit, we have to get this motor started. The motor doesn't start anymore. And so now we have to use poles to push ourselves off the side of the river. And it's like, you have to be making decisions, and it doesn't matter if you believe that the river is rising or not. Everything today is like, well, I feel like it's this. We say, well, we think that this conflict happening in this country, I feel like this, and you might feel differently. You say they're all good guys. I say, well, they're all bad guys, or vice versa. I say, I think what they're doing is right. You say, what they're doing is terrible. In the wild, we all agree on this one thing. The river is rising, and if you disagree, you will die. And that's simple. So it simplifies life. And so that's the point where you go, oh, we're all on the same page. We're just tiny little animals on this giant planet. And so you remember that, because we experience life through our phones, through each other. And then when you're in the wild, you fall into the embrace of the elements. And I think that that's where we're supposed to live. That's where we always did live, except for the last 150 years. We've always had experiences. I mean, in the time I've spent in India, you talk to the farmers in Coorg, and they all go, oh yeah, there's my uncle, he's still got a tiger skin up in the attic, because back when we started the coffee estates, there were still tigers here. And you go, are there still tigers now? And they go, not really. And it's like, man, we used to have authenticity and some sort of balance. Every few years, maybe a tiger gets somebody. Most of the time, the tigers want deer. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, you have to live like that. You have to live in balance with nature. And I think that's what we've forgotten. But for you coming with me into the jungle, I think you'd be like, wow, this is amazing, until the moment that we were doing something real.
Indian jungles, Western Ghats versus Amazon, do the same rules apply? Or are they different in nature? Because I'm sure there must be some essence of both the places which is completely theirs.
First of all, the main difference between the Indian jungle and the Amazon is that the Amazon is so big that you have these areas that are wild, where there's no people. In India, Western Ghats, there's areas that are deep jungle, but there's someone somewhere close. There's some tribal village, there's some other village. And so this thing of that the jungle is lawless is not, Indian Forest Department has rules. You can't just go doing whatever you want in the forest. And that's a good thing. This is in a place like India, if there wasn't rules, the whole forest would be gone. And we know from, the farmers that Western Ghats helps create the weather patterns that give rain to the irrigation for how much of India? A lot. And so without that rainforest, it would change the climate of India. So it's crucial to protect it. And of course, you have mining and development industries trying to destroy that whole thing for their own profit. And they're stealing from everyone else. Every other citizen, every farmer, every community, every indigenous group, all the people that live in the cities, those industries, when they destroy rainforest, they are stealing from them, polluting the rivers that people depend on for fish and for water and for irrigation. And so that's one of the things that I've been fighting to educate people on, is the idea that, if you were to come to a major office building and try to set it on fire, it would be an act of terrorism. You'd go to jail. But if we go to a forest and we use explosives to destroy the side of the mountain, and we cut down the forest and kill all the animals and burn the trees, somehow that's just called development. It's not development, it's murder. And at this point on Earth, we've lost 50% of the wildlife on our planet. Not of the species, but of the total numbers of those species. So 50% of the life on our planet we've killed. Removed the habitat, actually killed the species. Tigers have lost so much of their range. India actually is an incredible success story for conservation because the tigers are going up in numbers. And so that's huge. In so many other countries, tigers have dropped off and are just gone. But what I try to explain to people is that we are still so connected to ecosystems, and we have to change the way we think that, society can just grow and grow and grow and grow. We cannot. We have to actually respect the natural boundaries. And that's where me and you on the river in the Amazon, we have to respect the rules of the rain and the rocks. But at the same time, India has to respect the rules of the Western Ghats that are providing the weather for them, almost like the jungle is its own god. That's the way I look at the Amazon. So the difference between the Amazon is one is so big. I mean, the Amazon is the size of the continental US. It's huge. This is huge. So there's still places where you can go for 2 weeks by boat. And the reality there is, even though you might be in the territory of Peru or Brazil, you're days away from the nearest police station. You're days away from the nearest school or the nearest place you can buy a Coca-Cola. and so you're out so far, you're literally off the edge of civilization. It's like you've gone off the map. And so out there, the reality is you're on your own. And so if illegal drug traffickers come to you, no one's going to help you. If they want to shoot you, they shoot you. If they don't want to shoot you, they don't shoot you. Sometimes you go, hey, you got a pack of cigarettes? They can be pretty friendly too. In India, I found this very, very different. And so I've had amazing adventures, watching the elephants move through the jungle. I've gone on a few rescues where a king cobra has gotten into someone's kitchen looking for water. And everyone in the village is so scared. And we've gone in and brought out this, 11-foot king cobra, this big, huge king cobra. And then we took a water bottle. I have a video of this. We took a water bottle and just dribbled it on her nose. And the king cobra, she starts drinking the water. All she wanted was a drink. And the entire village was scared of this king cobra. And everyone said, she's so dangerous. Kill it, kill it. They had the sticks ready. You're not going to kill this king cobra. They're endangered. They're special. And so this big monster just wanted a drink. That's it. And so in India, I think the thing is, it's not the big, big wilderness like the Amazon, but it's still so crucial. And there's still so many incredible animals that depend on me. There's frogs there that occur nowhere else on Earth. There's still tigers and elephants and all of these beautiful animals. I mean, Western Ghats is some of the most beautiful rainforests on the planet and so crucial. And so the difference is, again, one is very lawless and wild. And the other one, I think, requires a little bit more respect for the fact that there's many different people relying on this forest. It's just a tiny little sliver, it's just that mountain range. And so it's something that needs to be guarded like a treasure. And I think that the Western Ghats has a very special place for me.
So do animals in these forests, they behave differently? Because Amazon, there is no human life, at least very little, very small, very small. And they don't understand at least the modern rules of the world. So these animals are away from what we can do. Yeah. But in India, Western Ghats, because there's life existing, they would behave very differently because they would encounter humans on a very regular basis.
Yeah.
So do these animals behave differently? How coexisting works? What's the difference?
I mean, just like you said, in the middle of the Amazon, there's places that humans have never been. And sometimes people will push back on that and they'll say, no, you mean no white man has ever. No. I'm saying no human has ever been. Humans have only been in the Americas for how many thousands of years? And the Amazon is so big, you haven't had a human walking in every single piece, every single stream, every single valley. And what nobody understands is I've flown low over the Amazon. And when you see there's a tiny little river, it looks like a piece of hair going through the jungle, a tiny little river here. And then you look over here and 70 miles over there is the next river. And in between that is flat jungle. No scientist has been in between those rivers. And even the indigenous people, they stick to the rivers. They're not going to go on an expedition through the center of that jungle. And even maybe they will once in a while, once every generation, but big parts of the Amazon rainforest have never been explored. And so that's something that people get wrong. But when you're out there, the jaguars they'll walk up to you and they'll look at you because there's a jaguar. They don't know. They're going, I'm the king here. Who are you? They don't care. They're not scared of you. And a lot of the other animals also, they know their parents teach. People don't realize their parents teach animals. Their parents teach them things. And so they've learned, well, that animal's dangerous. That animal's okay. This animal's a friend. That tree is okay. What's that? And they see this bipedal thing walking by and they don't care. In India, it's totally different where, you have elephants that have been living in conflict with humans where they're going into farmers' fields and their forest has been cut down. And so the elephants go in and there's jackfruit and pineapple and all this amazing stuff. And they go, yes, please. I knew this. I knew a farmer, he lost something like 20 lakh rupees to an elephant that ate all of his bananas in one night. And I was like, oh God. And he goes, yeah, I want to kill all the elephants. And I said, well, I understand that. And I said, but the poor elephants, I said, you cut down their forest. So there's the human elephant conflict. There's the human tiger conflict. And so it's animals and people. But that's the amazing thing about India is like somehow it works. Somehow there's more tigers in India than anywhere else. I mean, South India has the greatest population of tigers and elephants, I think, in all of the world. And so, but it's also so densely populated. So it's just proof that in India, the rules are very different compared to the rest of the world. And, but that's beautiful. It's amazing. It's amazing that can all coexist and that there's, the corridor system between all the protected areas like Nagarhole and Bandipur and all this. And, it's just incredible, beautiful, protected wild that also, again, it's different. We have to guard it like it's a treasure because it has become limited. And so it's the opposite. It's very different from the Amazon. The other thing is in the Amazon, the animals will not, there's like a jaguar, then there's anteaters, and there's really nothing other than a mosquito that's going to hunt you. Indian forest is actually more dangerous than the Amazon because you have bison, sloth bears, elephants that associate humans with problems. Yeah. They've been attacked by farmers. So now those tuskers will mess your life up. I've seen a female elephant where a car got too close to her and she went and just knocked that car. And just, you saw the wheels go up off the ground and the person sped away. And it's like, man, elephants are so strong. They're so incredible. And I actually think that elephants should be represented, whatever country the elephants live in, whether it's Africa or India or anywhere else, they should be represented in Congress. There should be a group of people that represent the elephants. They're so smart. I think that they're above, they should be considered non-human beings.
Why?
Well, they're so smart and they have family units. And again, whales.
What do you mean by smart?
Wildly intelligent to the extent that we might not be smart enough to understand how smart they are.
Give me an incident. What made you realize this?
So there was one day that I was walking with a herd of elephants and the forest department. And we were moving this herd of elephants from one place to another place. And we were crossing on this road. And there's village people coming through, men on their bicycles with 2 kids in the back, girls carrying water on their head. And the elephants, the mother elephant, the matriarch turned. And there was this young girl, young woman, and she backed up against the edge of a house, and there's an elephant looking at her, this giant elephant, and she puts her trunk against the girl's belly, and then without speaking, without making any sound, the other elephants all went, "What?" And she's clearly communicating with them, but I don't hear anything. It's not like a dog where it barks. She's just communicating with them through seismic things in her feet. I don't know. All the other female elephants came over, and they're all touching her belly because she was pregnant. They knew. We didn't know. She didn't look at all. And so they know things that we don't know. They can communicate. They can sense a thunderstorm how many miles away. If one elephant is over this side of the mountain, the other elephant is here, they can make rumbling seismic communications through the ground. They have technology. They have a memory that we can't conceive of. And so they've even documented elephants in Africa using medicinal plants to induce labor. They have culture. They have technology. They have medicine. We're sitting here, we go, he's eating some grass. We're so stupid. I mean, they remember the migration routes of their ancestors that they've been taught from their mothers. Most people, they can only move their finger across their phone. They're good for nothing. So I say elephants should have a higher stake in society.
You said you saw this elephant going to the woman. She was pregnant and the woman didn't know, but the elephant knew.
Yes.
Right. How do locals behave to this phenomenon? And at what point do they realize that she's trying to signal that this woman is pregnant?
So she wasn't trying to signal it. She was interested. She was just indulging her curiosity. And she said to her sister, come see this. And then the other elephant came too, and they did this. And the poor human was like, oh God. And these, they're touching. But I've also seen, these were elephants, like the forest department and the tribal groups, they have elephants that they work with. Yeah. So these are elephants. These aren't wild elephants, of course.
Okay.
But they're semi-wild. They still go off in the forest, but they also come in and get some food, and the people work with them. And the way that they interact, it's just so interesting. They know so much. They're so wise to what humans do. But no, she wasn't signaling that the woman was pregnant. She was just investigating.
Your book opens up with there's like 2 loggers being killed.
Yeah.
But nobody has ever asked you about what happens in those 2 months when you were preparing, waiting there before you got attacked by these locals, or like these people who are the tribe from the Amazon.
Wait. Hold up. The 2 loggers in the beginning of the book that were killed by the uncontacted tribes, the voluntarily isolated nomadic peoples of the Amazon. These are tribes that are live naked way out in the forest. The loggers had gone into their land, and these guys hunt with bows and arrows, and they straight through. So they killed the loggers. What is that? That didn't happen to me.
No, that didn't happen to you, but you saw that, right?
I did not see that.
Okay.
They found the bodies afterwards, and they found that they'd been shot by arrows. And so what I was doing was explaining that this is what would have happened. They would have been cutting, and you hear that loud chainsaw noise. You can't hear anything. And so the indigenous people would have heard that and gone, there's something over there. They go over there and they said, who are these people cutting down our tree? They don't like it when you cut down their trees. And so they have 6-foot arrows that they shoot, and they go completely silently. And a lot of times when these arrows hit you, they go completely through your body. So 1 second you're breathing, and the next second you just have a hole that goes through your body. And then the next few arrows will hit you, and then you go down. And so that they don't tolerate people coming into their land. These are the wild tribes. These are not people that we cannot talk to.
But how do you behave in jungle when you know this is the danger?
They're only in certain areas. We don't go into the areas where they live. First of all, that would be suicide. Second of all, it would be almost homicide to them, because if we go into their territory, our breath, our hands, we have access to outside pathogens. We've built up an immune system that has dealt with civilization, and we can exist holding onto the poles on the subway or the metro, and that would kill entire tribes. Entire family groups and tribes have been wiped out by outside pathogens. When the Europeans first came to North America, I know there's the stories of them giving blankets with smallpox to the Native Americans because it would just wipe out. They wouldn't need to have war with them then. It would just wipe out people. So with these isolated sort of virgin populations, we have to be like, they're epidemiologically extremely delicate. So we can't go into their territory. We have to let them
just be.
And they're just talking about jungle keepers. If you go there, they'll make sure that you remember. And again, there's the thing about the lawlessness of the Amazon. Even though they're within the territory of Brazil or Peru, they've never heard of this country.
Yeah.
They're in their jungle. That's it. And their rule is, and so again, whether or not we agree, some people say we should go contact them and tell them about airplanes and Jesus and iPhones. And other people say, no, we should leave them like that forever. They should be stuck in the jungle, and we should just protect them, and they should spend another 1,000 years like that. They should never change. These two groups fight. Even the anthropologists, there's different groups that say different things.
What do you think?
But when you're on the ground, it doesn't matter what you think. The reality is, if you see them, you got to run for your life because they're going to shoot you. And that's not saying anything mean about them. The only reason they're still alive is because everyone's too scared to go near them. It works. What do I think? I think a little bit of both. These people exist on the land that I protect. So in the 136,000 acres that Jungle Keepers is protecting, and now me and JJ, and there's other people on the team, this guy, Roy, Mos, and Stefan, there's a whole team of people that are part of this directorate. And then we have agents and rangers working for us. In that huge territory of the Amazon that we protect live these tribes. And so when I released the footage a few months ago of these tribes, I got some criticism where people said, how dare you use this footage of these poor people? It's exploitation. You're just using it to get yourself famous. No, we're using it to raise awareness because these people are being killed by the narco traffickers and their forest is being destroyed. And if we don't tell their story, nobody can because they can't come on the podcasts. And so we were trying to advocate for them. And now we're protecting even more land because we've come and announced to people that these people are out there. We've gotten support. But as we protect their land, what we realize is that they're going to remain there, and we have other indigenous groups that are that work with us, that are part of the Jungle Keepers family, and they don't know what to do about the tribes either. So do we talk to them? Do we not talk to them? The tribe will come out and sometimes they're like, we want bananas. We don't have access to farmed anything. We have to go hunt a monkey. We have to go find a turtle and eat that. And like, man, if you just learned how to plant crops, you'd have all of the carbs you'd need to sustain life. And so they're pre-agriculture, pre-metal age. They don't have stones. So they're really living a pre-Stone Age life. Now, some people say these tribes have splintered off of other tribes about 100 years ago. So they're not pre-Stone Age tribes. They're actually just kind of just lost splinter factions. They're just like lost groups that got pushed into the forest. And either one is possible. I don't know what the answer is, but the life they're living right now, I don't think is one that is desirable by anybody. It's very difficult, very unforgiving. If you break your ankle, you die. You get an infection, you die. There's intertribal warfare. They steal women. God only knows what the infant mortality rate is, what wrong beliefs they have. They probably have some interesting creation myths. Yeah, sure. But they also probably don't. I mean, think in the gold rush in the US, people thought they could use lead to close a can of beans, and how thousands of people died from lead poisoning. Like in human history, there's been plenty of times that we believe the wrong thing. Salem witch trials, people going, she's a witch. And they all go after these people and crush them with rocks. So God only knows what these people believe that just isn't true. They have no access to science. And so I think that knowledge and science and culture helps people. And I always explain to people, if you're in New York City and you see a homeless person on the side of the street, there's no one to help them. And in the rain in February when it's freezing cold, they're huddled and they're on the street by themselves. And I explain to Americans the difference where like you go to the slum in India and you see that, but there is some sort of culture and they still have dishes that they cook that have been handed down. And there's sort of a support network of other people in that situation. Whereas here you're on your own.
So, okay, for a second, let's go back at handling snakes. Like, tell me more about them. Tell me, how do you understand what are the snakes like, non-venomous ones, venomous ones? How do you identify? Like, give me more understanding about snakes.
Great question. And I always want to educate people about snakes. And so one of the best ways to educate people about snakes is to show them a snake. Because most people, when they say they're scared of snakes, what they really mean is that they've never met a snake. Now, this is a species of boa constrictor, red-tailed boa from South America. So this is one of the species we find very, very similar to this in the Amazon.
Okay.
And this is still a baby. They get to be as long as this table, as thick as your leg. And so what I'm going to do
is
invite you. This may be probably under a year old.
Okay.
So if you just put your hand out like this with the thumb out,
it won't bite
got
me,
this.
right?
It will not. Look, is it biting me?
No. But like, are you sure? I'm pretty scared.
100%.
Like,
So just take the tail.
That
just take the tail. Just hold the tail. Just wrap your hand around the
maybe
seat.
it senses that I'm scared.
So you just act like a tree. Yeah, you're okay. You're okay. So you just see, and she's going to lift your hand up. Mm-hmm. Good. She's going to put her tail. She's going to hold on to you a little bit. This is a small baby animal, so you have to be protecting her. You don't want her to fall.
Okay.
You just have to be the tree. And see, she's just trying to feel secure. I know you're going to be spooked to the head, but this is not an animal. She wants to eat mice. She wants to eat a bird. And see, she's just looking. She's so beautiful. The scales on their heads. And so again, you don't want to pet. They don't like it to be poked. It scares them.
Okay.
She says, this is something that's attacking me.
So you just be like sturdy.
I'm just being the tree. And so she's looking for the next branch to go on. And so I give her the next branch. No. See that? She gets scared. She goes, should I defend myself? So snakes aren't aggressive. They're defensive. When people say that's an aggressive snake, there's no aggressive snake. The only snake that'll eat people is a reticulated python. They eat little Indonesian grandmothers from time to time.
So aren't they venomous?
Absolutely. And if this snake was venomous, we would not be handling it here like this. I wouldn't risk your life and I wouldn't risk my life. This is a very, very calm, non-venomous snake. Why don't you lean in and look at her face? She cannot come closer to you. Lean in. Look really up close at how beautiful her scales are. She's got a very pretty face, those beautiful eyes. And they have this incredible feature where when they lift their head, their eyes actually rotate So if their head is facing down, their eye will rotate up. So they're never actually seeing sideways or anything. An incredible adaptation. And you see the beautiful coloration on her tail. Now look, a snake, I'll show you something she won't like. She won't like being on here. It's not very easy for her to move.
Okay,
but she likes you.
Please hold. Please. Okay, then.
But that's good. She goes to you.
So, but why is she coming to me?
I mean, maybe she feels like you're good energy or she feels secure with you. No, she's not. She's just going in the first direction she can think of going. So right now she's using my hand to push off. See? And the thing I tell everybody with a snake is she's going to look for the first place that she can hide. So let's see where she finds. Oh, she's going to climb the tree.
It's not a tree, bro.
She doesn't know that. But look how good she is at climbing it. Oh, come on. You can do this. You sit there. It's going to be so good. She's going to climb your mic. This is a priceless shot. Lean into the mic. You got this. She's not going to do anything. Come on, lean closer.
She's not going to attack me.
Smile. This is an awesome shot. Hey, look at me. Look at me. You're good. Okay, hold on. See this? This is a defensive thing. Now that quick movement. Now she's going, am I in danger? And so she's turned herself into an S. Yes. Mm-hmm. And so look, she's holding on really tight. So that scared her.
Sorry.
But no, it's okay. She'll recover. So look, now if I just touch, they said they don't like being pet. If I just touch her tail like this, she's going, I don't really like that. I'm going to keep going. And then so see how she's calmed down now. She got scared and she goes right back to being calm. She's just seeing if she has to defend herself. Absolutely not trying to be aggressive in any way. I'll take her back over to my side.
But what happens if she bites?
This one, if she bit you, you'd be okay. It'd be a couple of scratches.
Okay.
Now, that's not the case for something like an anaconda. Now, I can't show you an anaconda today, but I can show you something kind of similar.
What?
Well, there's only a few snakes that get to be the size of an anaconda. There's anacondas, there's reticulated pythons that get to be even longer than anacondas. There's boa constrictors that get to be very big. But one of the most famous snakes and one of the most readily available to handle snakes that get to be that tremendous length are Burmese pythons. And you're going to love this. Watch.
I could hear this.
She is hissing.
Yeah.
Oh.
I have to get her to come. Now I get him.
Yeah. All right, here we go. So this is a Burmese python, which you might recognize because...
Please put it away from me.
Yes, this is a huge python. Just going to try and get her. Let's just get her on the table.
Yeah.
So this is the closest thing I could show you to an anaconda in a setting like this. Now again, this is such a big snake, and like the littler snake, she's doing everything she can to feel safe. So she's grabbing onto the table right here.
What if she attacks?
She's not going to attack. Right now, so the fact that she's calm is a really good sign. But you get a sense of how powerful this snake is by just looking at how hard it is for me to lift it. I cannot lift this snake.
How big would this be?
This would be about a 14 or 15 foot snake, I believe. And so she's just...
And how much would she weigh?
I don't know. I would imagine probably about 180 pounds. So this snake weighs the same as me.
And what if she attacks? Like what?
But again, what would make her attack right now? So if I was to hurt her in some way, maybe she would defend herself, but she's not going to attack.
But why is she why is she making this?
Well, that's how they figure things out. That's how they see. So she's scenting the air with her tongue, and then they have something called the Jacobson's organ that's going to the roof of her mouth, and she's getting information. So she's learning about us. But I mean, this is such a beautiful, beautiful snake. Wow. Yeah. That's a dragon of an animal. Good girl. Good girl. Yes. You're very big.
And
very big and very powerful. So when we're dealing with anacondas, that anaconda that almost crushed my collarbones
would be
this
something.
This is about the size of that snake. Yeah.
See,
so I'm just going to try and...
Do you find these kind of snakes in India?
So this is very closely related to the Indian rock python. This is Python bivitatus. I've never seen at a podcast. Look at this thing. Good girl. She's just putting on a show.
Wow.
You see how beautiful all these just tens of thousands of scales. And snakes are not like fish. Their scales are part of their skin. With fish, scales.
And how old would this snake be?
She's about 6 years old. So this is obviously a captive snake, but she's raised well. She's very healthy. She's clearly loved and taken care of.
I've never had a conversation in my life with this danger being this close to me.
Danger. No, she's sweet. She's not being dangerous right now.
See, she's coming to me, please.
She wants you.
No, she doesn't. No, please. Yeah, go to him, man. Go to him. See, she likes you better.
She knows. She knows.
See, most people like me, they would feel fear at this point.
Of course.
At what point did your fear go away?
After handling hundreds and hundreds of snakes, but she's calm, right? Because she knows people. She's been handled. So see if you can lift that. Now that her head's all the way over here, see if you can lift that side of her body. You can do it. Just put your hands underneath and try to lift. Just try.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Dude.
Not wild.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is insane.
Yeah, she is insane. The thing is, there's so much of her that's not even on the table. Why don't you?
Yeah, what if
I would just take the back, Tristan. Put it over his shoulder.
What if she crushes me?
She's not going to crush you. Stand up. Stand up. Stand up. Come on, stand up. Stand up. Come on, you got this. Yo, let the warrior out. You're good. You're fine. Her head's nowhere near you.
What if she?
My question now, I want to start interviewing you. You ever been in this position on a podcast before? What's your favorite color? No, let's stay calm. Let's stay calm. Where are you at? Come back. Come back. So now we're going to let her slither over me, over you. She's going to move this way. Yeah, let her go. You feel all those muscles. What are you feeling right now?
I don't know, man.
Can you feel the muscles moving around your neck?
I could feel and how she's transferring weight from here to here, and now she's trying to get out of me.
Yeah, you feel how strong she is.
Yeah. If you just take a big breath and hold me, it'll be crushed.
Yes, this snake could easily crush both of us. She's so strong.
Don't get her face, Naomi, please.
I'm not.
Can I leave her?
No. You can't just drop her.
Okay, that face is coming near me, man. Okay, I'm scared.
You're good. Just smile, man. It's all good. Oh, no. You don't want that. You can't fit through there. I don't care what anybody says.
Wow.
This is taking a lot of my strength.
I can sense it.
Okay, let's get her down.
No. Thank you, buddy. Thanks for being kind, man.
Just go to sleep.
Should I leave?
No, you're good.
Why is she?
So anyway, what were you saying? So when you think of big snakes like this, first of all, they're apex predators. So these guys actually got introduced to the Florida Everglades in the US. And while they're the perfect apex predators in their natural environment, here they're invasive. And so they're actually such effective predators that they're eating everything. They've been found eating the alligators. And so you asked me if this is the same as an Indian rock python. These Burmese pythons tend to stay more in the jungle, and they may overlap into some part of eastern India at some point. But as far as I know, this is Python bivitatus. And then in India, you find Python marulis, I believe. And that I've found in southern India. And they seem to like more arid, sort of dry areas. But again, you can get these incredible sizes where they're eating dogs, deer, really whatever they want. And an animal like this is going to find places in the forest to rest. They'll eat once every 6 months, once every couple of months, whatever comes by. But absolutely amazing animals. Now, the interesting thing is that the first snake I showed you, that South American boa, they have live birth. Their babies come out of them alive. This big girl's laying eggs. That's one of the differences between the different species. Some of them
live birth. Lay eggs.
This one will lay eggs. This Burmese python will lay eggs. I can't get over her color. I'm really freaking out. This is such a beautiful snake. You know?
Tell me, see, even though you've man,
Try thinking. Yeah.
even though you have come out of the fear of being around them.
Yeah.
Like you seem to be pretty comfortable and playing around. You understand them.
Oh, she didn't want to be kissed.
She doesn't like that.
She didn't like that.
She didn't like that, man. So you've said that animals only become.
No.
Can we get that back in, please?
I knew when she was going for it.
Yep.
She said enough.
Yeah.
She's like, I don't want
That
to
was
do
good. That was
podcasts
excellent.
anymore, brother.
That was excellent.
Yeah.
That was excellent. Okay.
That was.
That was awesome. And I do this stuff. That was awesome.
How did you know that it's going to attack?
So she was telling us with her body language that she said, all right, look, you have me on this slippery surface. You're picking me up, putting me down. She said, okay, I could feel her sort of getting like, that's enough. And then she's laying there because she's like, all right, she's a big snake. She's tired. And then she was holding on with her tail. And then I could see her head was this way. And then I gave her that kiss and she went, what was that? And again, that scared her. So I shouldn't have done that. But then she turned her head and you heard the hissing go up.
Yeah.
And that wasn't just breathing. That was hissing. She was going, I don't like you being there. And then I went, I should get out of the way. And then she saw me move and she moved. And that's when I went, okay. And then boom, when she struck, I said, let me just get out of the way because I don't want to bleed on your podcast table, you know. That was awesome. And again, that was a great experience.
I'm still terrified with this because you know what's commendable is the ability of a human body. Like now you can just calm yourself around that, knowing that what kind of danger it was. Because you were asking me at that time, right? How do you feel?
Yeah.
I could feel that weight. She was so heavy. If she wanted, she would have just crushed me. Like 1 move here, could crush me. And then sometimes she would move in this direction. So I could feel my weight from going from here to here. And then sometimes she could go back. Like
it's just, and you can feel all those thousands of muscles
Yeah.
creeping across you and that. But that weight is what she uses to, you know, once she grabs onto an animal, that weight, they drag it down into the water or into the grass and wrap it around and then just, and then they'll spend 3-4 hours swallowing it.
See, here's the beauty about it, right? Like you were not scared at all because you knowing the kind of danger, you could sense it and you were so aware in the moment that it could hit you, right?
I mean, but this is anything. I mean, I say that anybody who's a good driver, you drive in traffic, especially Indian traffic, and you have to be so aware. You have to be thinking about the dogs and the lorries and the rickshaws and the children crossing the street, and you have to be able to do all of this while winding and half the time checking your phone and everything else that people do. With the snakes, it's like I've put in so many hours. And so that as soon as she started moving, and I could notice also that she was sort of, whereas before she was going, where can I go in the room? She was looking this way. And then when she turned her head just here, she was looking at me. She's going, what? That's enough. And so she's going, that's enough. It's her only word. That's enough. You know, it's her only move. It's to say back up. And she wasn't really trying to bite. She just showed
She was just trying to back off. Like they just threatened you, just back.
And it worked. I was like, I don't want to get an arm in that mouth. Hell no.
You've said somewhere that animals only become readable when you stop being afraid of them. Is that true?
It's partly true. I mean, but you can definitely be afraid of them and still read them well.
Tell me an exact moment you stopped being afraid of the animals or like the snake like this.
I don't know if there's, I mean, again, I'm not scared of this snake, but I have respect for this snake. I'm not scared of a wild elephant in India, but I have respect for it.
At what moment do you stop being scared and having respect?
But again, I'm not scared of animals. Since the
beginning.
Since the beginning. I think that's where I live with animals. You know, they're my friends. I've raised toucans. I've rehabilitated snakes. I've raised a baby giant anteater on my back. And so these animals to me, where people go, oh, I'm scared. It's like, dude, I catch crocodiles all the time. I swim with them in the river. And so these aren't scary things. If you're swimming with crocodiles, they're not going to hunt you. because they're in their environment. They're thinking, I want to find a bird. I want to find a fish. I want to find my prey. I mean, unless you're going up against, Nile crocodiles, giants that are eating wildebeest, even an alligator. If I get in the water with an alligator, most of the time that alligator is going to run away. They don't like being pursued. They don't like feeling nervous. They want to sneak up on their prey, like a bird or something, and just whack and then pull it down into the thing. They don't want another big animal coming towards them. And that's what people don't realize. And so if I'm in the wild and I see elephants walking by, I'll announce myself. I'll go, hello, hey guys. And they'll you see they'll throw a trunk in your direction. They'll put their ears out. They'll say, what are you? They want to see you. They don't like, one thing they don't like when you're crouched down like this, you stand up. Go, hey, right here. It's okay. They get a good look at you, ears out, and then they'll go back to, half the time they'll show you their backside if they don't like you. And then if they're calm, they'll start flapping their ears again, start wagging the tail again. They'll go back to just eating. If they don't see you, but you have to, every animal has a boundary, and everyone has experienced this, whether it's a bird in your backyard, anything. You approach and then it doesn't matter. You're still far away. You get a little bit closer and all of a sudden they change positions. And a lot of times with a bird, as you get a little bit too close, they'll poop. Butterflies do this, birds do it, everything, because they're like, okay, I'm ready to run. And then that's when you're like, all right, I've crossed their boundary. You can do this with geese in a field, works for elephants, bears, tigers, everything. Although, yeah.
So all animals want to run away from humans?
Yeah. I mean, if you see a snow leopard, again, even a tiger, for the most part, does not, unless she has cubs or unless the tiger's hunting you if you're in the Sundarbans. But for the most part, a healthy, wild tiger would find it really strange if you walked up to them. They might not be scared. They might be indifferent. If you get too close, they might take you out, but you're disrespecting them. They're certainly not going to run up and attack you. The only time the tigers attack is, they wear out their teeth when they're very, very old. And if they can't catch on to deer and wild boar and they can no longer hunt, well, we're easy. We're like a banana, it's like they can just rip us open. It's like, why would you not eat that? So.
Was there any incident where you were afraid?
I'm afraid all the time.
Tell me one moment where you thought maybe this is it.
The snake crushing me, the first big anaconda. Also, the first time we caught an 18-foot anaconda, just 18 and a half feet, when the whole team was fighting and we were in deep water. So if she wraps you in deep water, not only are you going to get crushed, you're also going to drown. And so when I got her head, I had to get the head. I was the most experienced person on the team. And when I got her head, she just started thrashing. So she was beating me around, just throwing my body. And that was terrifying. Because I said, if she wraps me up, and you just think about the fact that you might be dragged into the black water and never see the sky or air again, that in this moment, and you go, okay, what's worth it? Is it worth it to tell the world this story about this forest, to show them this dragon? And the only way I can do that is by risking everything to do this. You take that last breath and just jump in. And so I was terrified, and it was worth it. But I think that's the way the universe works. You have to risk for a reward. Back to tigers. Every time a tiger chases after a deer or a buffalo, that those hooves, those horns, they could kill them. So they have to risk their lives every time. And then what is it? One out of 10 tries results in a meal. And so for animals, this idea of risk and reward is fine. And again, if you look at the great warriors, like in the US, we have the Comanches. They would go riding into battle. They weren't thinking about, what if we lose? They just were in it to win. And so they had no problem. They played the game like they can't lose. And that changes the way you perceive everything. If you can play the game like you can't lose, then you can play at the highest level. You're not thinking about failure. You're thinking about execution. Nothing else but focus. And so that's what animals have that we don't have, where they're fully committed. So you have to learn that. And I think that there's certain situations that demand that.
You were charged by an elephant in India, Wanan.
Yeah.
A 12 feet elephant, right?
Yeah.
And you ran zigzag
Yeah, that one, that was not my fault. Okay. In my defense, it was a stream, right? And so the banks of this stream, it was like the jungle, and then it went about 12 feet down stream, and then it went about 12 feet up, and then there was like a field with beautiful trees, and there's a mother elephant and some younger ones all around there, and I was like, this is beautiful. I'm going to keep my distance. And I announced myself. I said, hey, everybody. They all looked over and said, we don't care. They were like, it's a person, whatever. And they're eating over on the other side of the stream. And I had my notebook and I like to journal and sketch. And I said, all right, I'm going to there's a beautiful tree hanging over the stream. I'm going to go to that tree and climb up it. And I'm going to sit in this tree and just watch elephants the whole afternoon. And they're just grazing here and there's nobody around. It's so beautiful. And so I'm making my way towards that tree and I keep looking across the stream. I'm going, they're there. And I'm just going to be so careful. I'm so respectful of these elephants. And as I'm looking at them and walking this way, I made the most crucial thing of not noticing my surroundings. And I just heard one stick crack and I looked up and I see the back end of this tremendous tusker, this huge elephant. And you feel the blood drain out of your body. It's like the blood reverses direction in your veins. And I just went, I'm dead. I'm 100% dead. I'm going, I don't see any way that I get out of this situation. I'm within 5 feet of this elephant, a wild elephant. And he turned around, he looked at me, and you see the tusks come around, and he looked at me with one eye. He looked at me like, what the fuck are you doing so close? Like the disrespect on his face. He was like, how dare you? Turns around and then just smacks a tree with his trunk. The tree flew apart. Just starts screaming, and he turns around, and the time it took him to sort of turn around, I threw down my backpack. I started running through the forest, and as he's chasing me, I wish I could play the video for people when I looked over my shoulder, because you just see this elephant crashing through the jungle, and all these lantana bushes and all this stuff has thorns on it. A human, if we run through that bush, we'll get tied up like it's barbed wire. Elephant straight through, trees going over and everything. And yes, I was zigzagging. As you're running, I would grab a tree and just pivot 90 degrees and go this way. And so he'd have to come this way to chase me. And then I'd jump in the air, grab another tree, and then just swing around like a gibbon and then accelerate in that direction. So I got a little bit of space as we we're going, because he's good at trucking in this train in the same direction. And finally we get to the edge of the stream, and this elephant's coming full speed. And so I just jumped and I rolled down the 12 feet and landed on my back, poof, into the stream. And the elephant gets to the edge of this cliff at full speed, and he realizes it's a cliff, and he stops like this. And you could see him and if that elephant I'm looking up at this elephant's head, I'm going, if he falls, he's going to go face down in the stream and kill us both. His neck's going to break and I'm going to get crushed under an elephant. He got back onto his feet, and he was so pissed. He picked up a stick, raised the stick up in his trunk, and threw the stick at me. And the stick went poof right next to my head. And I couldn't believe I was alive. I was covered in blood. I had a big scratch on my head. And I was like, I'm alive. I screamed. He was so mad. And then the other elephants went running. And my backpack was gone. I was bleeding all over. I was covered in blood. Oh, it was amazing. It was amazing seeing how powerful he was. Now, the sad thing about that story is that in order for that elephant to be that mad, he's had conflicts with humans. He's probably gone into a farmer's field, probably had fireworks or rocks thrown at him.
Must have seen one of his members getting probably brutally beaten by humans.
Yeah. And so they're so smart. They know that the humans are cutting down their forest. They know that the humans are threatening them. And so when he sees a human that close to him, he got very scared. It wasn't just the disrespect. It was also a fear response. And he goes, I'm an elephant. They're a survival machine. I forget who said that, but he said, why would a herbivore, why would something that eats plants kill you? They don't need to kill you.
Yeah.
But in their mind, if you're threatening me, kind of like the wasps, if you threaten me, then I'll remove the threat. I'll be peaceful if you be peaceful, but don't you threaten me. I respect that mentality.
Was that fear different than the kind of fear which you felt with anaconda?
Yes, I would rather be trampled to death by an elephant than crushed by an anaconda. Something about being killed by a reptile. That seems terrible. But being crushed was very sort of like the dread, because I know what happens. I've seen the animals that a snake crushes, and a big snake, when they crush, let's say like a rabbit, they'll crush a rabbit so much that the guts will explode out of its mouth and the eyeballs pop out. And you see them hanging by strings. And so I was imagining that happening to me. The guts will explode out of your mouth and your ass. And so that's pretty rough. Now, running from an anaconda, running from an elephant, you're running through the trees at full speed. And that's one of those moments where you hit the apex of life because you go, man, I'm running from this incredible force of nature and this fucking pieces of trees flying by me. And it's like, man, if you lose that, then fair play, fair game. And also it was a total mistake. It's not like I made a stupid risk. I was just walking. I had no idea he was there. Quiet. They're so quiet. People, so many times I've heard people be like, oh, you guys are so loud. You sound like a pack of elephants. No, pack of elephants is quiet. So quiet. Their feet are, they're basically standing on their toes and they have a big pad. Their whole heel is this big flat pad. They're quiet.
But they show, like, you see clips when they're going wild and like the whole pack is running around.
Yeah.
Why does that happen?
Oh, when they get scared. There's a beautiful video, I think it's from Thailand, where this guy comes around the bend on his motorcycle. And the thing is, these mothers have babies with them and they're crossing the road. This is a beautiful video. And he falls off his bike because they charge him. He drops the bike and he just stands there with his hands like this. And these elephants, because he's going, I can't run. And he's standing there in his helmet and he just puts his hands up and he's like, please don't kill me. And the elephants come right up to him like they're going to kill him. And then they stand and they go, okay, we won't kill you. But they all surround him and they're all going, bah! They're screaming at him. You scared us. Beautiful video. I don't know who took the video, but it's amazing. This guy falls right off his bike and then just, please don't kill me. It's awesome. It's awesome. And they don't kill him.
And they understood. That's what you were saying. They're intelligent.
Yeah. They just said, don't risk my babies. I had an elephant tell me this. I was driving on a road in Kerala and this mother elephant ran out into the road, ears out, no sound, but ears out. She stopped my car. I'm in this little red I-10 and the elephant in front of me. I'm looking up through the windshield, like, oh my God, if she just throw this car. But she stands there. She's all right. And she's waiting for something. She puts her trunk up. She kind of goes near the window a little bit. I said, what do you want? And then I tried to back up a little bit. No. It's like the snake. She wouldn't, no. Took a stand there and I went, okay, I won't back up. And I said, I can't go around. I can't back up. So I leaned out the window. I said, what do you want? And she was like, flapped her ears and she said, oh, I can see you now. Because she couldn't see me through the glass. She said, oh, I can see you. And she moved over here. And she still looked very menacing. Her ears are out. So I went, okay, shut the car. Your instinct is to run away. But I said, you know what? She's telling me something. Why did she come out on the road? Shut the car. Now I'm sitting there. I lean out the window again. I said, hey, mama, what are you doing? And then she had her ears out. And then her sister came across the road with the baby. So it was her sister and the baby brought the baby across. And then as soon as the baby was off on the thing, her ears went down. She literally said, okay, thank you. Like her head shook. And then she moved off. And I turned on the car. I very carefully, because I don't want to scare them. I turned on the car gently. She looked at me again like, yo. And I was like, I'm going. Like, it's okay. But it was a whole conversation. She came out and she goes, stop. I want to bring my baby across the road. Turn off the motor. Okay. Now I go. So this is why I love elephants.
You got a disease also, right? When you were in India. And it was the kind of infection where New York doctors actually got medical students to show you. What was that disease?
Because it's that rare. Yeah, I was staying in a mud hut in the jungle.
How do you pronounce it? Tularemia?
Tularemia. Yeah, it's so rare that I went to an infection. It makes a infected pit on your arm.
What happened? How did that happen? In India, it happened, right?
Well, you get bitten by a tick, I believe.
Okay.
And then you get this illness. For some reason, this illness causes you to have an infected pit on your right elbow. Weird, super rare. And I came back to New York with it and I had no energy and I just couldn't get out of bed and I felt sick all the time. So I went to an infectious disease doctor, the best one in New York City. And he went, do you mind if I call my students? And I was like, no, I don't mind. He brought all these kids in and he goes, everybody, he goes, this is the only time in your life you're going to see this in real life. He said, this is tularemia. He goes, look how the patient is presenting this pus on his right elbow. He's like, this is classic. And I was like, oh God. And then they put me on a bunch of antibiotics for a couple of weeks, but it didn't work. It didn't get any better. And then They switched up the antibiotics, put me on different antibiotics for a few weeks. Still didn't work. Now I have even less energy and I'm really broken down. And then JJ called me from the Amazon. He's like, dude, something amazing happened. We were just getting a new piece of land that we were going to protect. He said, you got to come down here. So I get down to the Amazon and he looks at my arm and he sees this horrendous infection and he goes, so bad. He goes, come with me. Takes me into the forest and he cuts into this tree and gets the sap. And then he used the sap to make it into, as it heats up, as he rubbed it, it made a seal, like a chemical seal. It turned into almost rubber, sealed the infection. And then he made me drink a little bit of it. And the next morning, all the infection was gone. It had turned to a black scab. In a couple of days, it healed up. Jungle medicine.
What was happening inside your body? What were you feeling? Just energy sucking up?
Absolutely no energy. It was dealing with the illness, with the infection.
And no modern medicine was able to help you at that point.
No, all the modern medicine didn't work. They didn't like that very much when I told them that, because I came back from the jungle and I said, you know what cured me? And I said, do you want me to bring you a sample of the sap? And they went, no. They were like insulted, I think.
Why not? You just should have been more receptive of it, right?
Sure. But actually it's also good that, sometimes maybe leave the wisdom in the jungle, because sometimes what happens is they discover something in the jungle and then they take it out and other people pharmaceutical companies will benefit from it. And then what does the jungle get? Nothing.
Yeah.
They made billions off of the medication. It was a blood thinner called Captopril that came from the venom of a bushmaster. It's a big venomous snake in the Amazon. The jungle didn't get any of that. The shareholders did great. But imagine if half of that or a third of that or even 5% of that went back to protecting the place it came from, that would make a little bit more sense. So if we do ever bring that medication out of the jungle into the world, we're going to do it in a way that benefits the jungle.
Yeah. And talking again about India and the Amazon, because we were on the topic of India, that you've tracked tigers on foot in India.
Yeah.
How is that different than a jaguar in Amazon?
Listen,
what is the difference?
Listen, a jaguar is a beautiful animal. A leopard is a beautiful animal. I've seen both in the wild. When you're in the presence of a jaguar, you see a beautiful cat that has incredible power. When you see a leopard, you see that incredible athleticism. Those glowing yellow eyes are beautiful. But I've seen both and I feel no fear. When you see a tiger in the wild and there's no TV screen, cameraman, zoo fence, nothing, no Jeep, no humans around. I mean, their back would be here. They're so big and their paws are so massive. When you see that walking God in real life, and there's only 5,000 of them left on Earth, it goes on the entire planet. 5,000 of anything makes it one of the rarest things in the universe. And it's one of the greatest terrestrial predators we've ever had. You're talking about grizzly bear, polar bear, tiger. That's it. Those are the big ones. Any lions hunt in a pack. It's a totally different thing. They say the king of the jungle. They're talking about a tiger. The lion isn't the king of the jungle. Lions hunt in the savannah and they hunt in groups. That the tiger, there's nothing like a tiger. That's a whole different thing. Seeing a jaguar. Tiger is the apex. There's nothing else like a tiger.
How do you convince the animal rights activists about, let's say, getting a snake in a studio like this and then showing that snake?
I say go worry about a cow. I mean, really, go worry about an animal that needs. The other thing is these animal rights activists, they're never focusing on ecosystems. Wild animals, like sure, pigs, cows, chickens, whatever. They're made up by us. They're bred by us. These are not wild animals. These are, a golden retriever is great, but it's a human creation. That used to be a wolf. So it's a made up animal that we made. Chickens, we've bred them. And so the chickens are only alive because we made them and then we decide to eat them. That's part of the deal. What I'm concerned about, my life mission is about protecting wild animals in natural ecosystems. And so, I think that specifically they need a voice more than anyone else. Wolves in the wild, elephants in the wild, the Amazon, the Western Ghats, these systems, these complex ecosystems that form over millions and millions of years, these intersections between this matrix of interconnected life. And you have these birds carrying seeds and hummingbirds carrying nectar, and all of this stuff is interlaced. And if we mess that up, we're never going to get it back again. The ancient trees and the water cycle and the mist and so worrying about some farm animals is just not, or whether or not people handle a snake on a podcast is so irrelevant that I dismiss the people that I don't care about those comments.
But then they would be saying that, why do you need to show a snake? Like, why don't, like, they're going to say that to me as well and you as well, that why do you need to show a snake when you can just talk about it? Why do you need to do all of that? Like, how do you convince them that?
I don't care. I don't care.
But what's the need? Like, do you think showing that?
How's this? If I told you about an anaconda, would you understand the power that you felt on your shoulders?
Never.
No. Now, for your viewers who may never get to experience a snake that's that size, seeing you, they're experiencing it through you. So you have the ability to share this experience with millions of people. And so what we're doing is they're all of a sudden going, wow, look at the power of that animal. And they're sharing it with their friends. Would you see the size of that snake? And so it shares an appreciation. And we're talking about how snakes are great. They're really not that bad. They protect us from rodents. They're part of the ecosystem. They're misunderstood. And so there's all this information coming out. And so anybody there's always somebody complaining about something.
I don't know something. I'm going to share this with personal experience. I'm terrified. I mean, you could see that on my face, right? I trusted you, so I would disclose. And then there was a little snake which is coming right here.
That was cool.
That was scary as hell. But here's something that changed inside me a little bit, which is I'm way more empathetic. Like, now, next time I'm going to see a snake, my first instinct is not going to be like, kill it. My first instinct is going to be, can we find someone who can handle it properly and get it back to the jungle?
That's it. Back to the jungle. Half the time when these snakes are in a village, they live in the village. And so what the snake rescuers do is they'll catch it. So everyone sees we are removing the snake. There's no threat. And the people will be like, cool, we're all going to go home. And then you go around the block and you release a snake. It doesn't need to go back to the jungle. These snakes, these cobras and rat snakes that live in the cities with us, I'm talking about in India, they're eating the rats and keeping everything healthy. Otherwise, there'd be more rodents. So they're actually doing a service for us. And actually, what you just said is the greatest answer to anyone that has any sort of a complaint, is that snakes need it. It's not like it's like we were sitting here with a monkey. It's like snakes have a bad reputation and people kill them when they see them. And they don't understand that a snake is not, like you were saying, is he going to attack? Nope. In fact, cobras go up and they show you their hood only to say, back up, don't mess with me. So that's not aggressive. You're saying, hey, stop, don't do it. Don't make me make you meet God. And so they go up for that. A rattlesnake is the same thing. They send the rattle, say, hey, please don't step on me. And so that's it. And so educating people about snakes to me is way more important than worrying about the little things, feelings. People thinking, wow, okay, snakes, maybe they're not so bad. And then how many of these people listening are going to go back to their community, their village, their hometown, talk to their parents and say, you know what? I just saw the coolest thing. Look at this. And then people go, okay, we can just call a snake rescue. We don't have to kill this thing.
Yeah.
How many snake lives did we just save?
True. Have you seen that black snake in India which just goes in people's houses? What do you call them? Can I show you?
Sure.
Because that's the most important thing. Here's what happens. Because, that snake comes in like during the monsoon. It just comes at people's house. Okay. And most of the people I know, they kill it. If we could make even 1% people realize that when that snake comes in, you call the snake rescuer and not kill it.
Yeah.
Because the whole community comes together and all they want to do is get like big rods and steel rods and just put it like this and then burn it. So many people say that they never died. You have to burn them.
Wait, yeah, no, hold up. First of all, also, I have to mention this. I wrote a book called The Girl and the Tiger, and it's basically a modern day jungle book set in India. And instead of the tiger being the villain, Shere Khan, the tiger is basically the victim. And it's about a little girl who takes a tiger on a journey across South India. And there's an elephant character and all this other stuff, but it's like basically a modern day jungle book. And it's from the perspective of these animals. Like, what is it like for an animal for an elephant that's watching their forest be destroyed and feeling that frustration of seeing their family members die? And for the tiger, what's it like being one of the last of your species and trying to survive in this place where there's all these primates eating everything and you have no more deer. And if anybody sees you, you're going to be killed. You're no longer the king of the jungle. You can't just sit out in the sun and be the ruler. No, now you're a refugee. Yeah. And you have to stay in the dark. And so the whole book is written from the animal perspective and from years of experience of traveling around India and witnessing, like this elephant that chased me, stuff like that. I like use moments like that to craft this story. So it's fun. But even the snakes, it's like you go,
see that snake I'm talking about, that brown black snake. It comes in people's homes.
That looks like a crate. That's a very dangerous snake, though.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing. People see. There's certain things that are deceptive. People see a comedian on stage and they go, oh, he's just talking. I could do that. And they don't realize that this person has been crafting those jokes and going around and making, honing this skill and seeing what works with different audiences and creating this comedy special. And it's deceptive because you go, he could stand on stage and do that. I could stand on stage and do that. No, you can't. And the same thing goes for the snake handling where, it doesn't look like anything. It looks like you're just handling a snake.
Yeah.
But you have to have years and years of experience to be able to do it. If you're handling something like that, a crate, if you get it by the tail, that thing can so quickly, the crate won't hurt you. The crate is in your house either to get warm, to get cool, to get water, to chase a rat, something. And then it gets stuck under the kitchen, under the refrigerator, something. And then the people discover it. Now that crate is scared. So if somebody goes in there and goes, oh, I can be a snake rescuer too, and grabs it by the tail, they're going to die. So let's emphasize that you cannot, people that have studied this over years and years and years and years and years still die from venomous snake bites. Venomous is totally different. The snakes we handled today, the little one, if it bites you, nothing. Big one bites you, a few stitches. If a cobra bites you, you're going to die. If a king cobra bites you, you're going to die real quick. And crates are the same type of venom. It's really bad.
So what do you do when it comes to your house?
Call an expert. But the problem is people see these videos of snake rescuers and even what we just did, and they go, oh, well, I can touch a snake.
Yeah.
I saw a horrible video where in India, two guys are on the stairs. They're on stairs, and there's a Russell's viper. And the one friend says to the other friend, he's like, I got this. And he goes and he saw someone somewhere grab a snake by the head. And he tries to grab the snake. He doesn't get it right behind the head. Snake turns and bites him on the hand. And he goes, no, it's okay. It doesn't even hurt. He goes, it doesn't even hurt. What's so terrifying about that video is he's already dead. He died. But for a few hours, maybe an hour, or at least for a few minutes, he's going, no, I'm fine. He goes, it's just 2 holes. He goes, it doesn't even hurt that bad. And yeah, the venom's already in him. Very disturbing video because he thinks he's fine.
So what do you do then?
You educate people. And that's what a lot of the snake rescuers...
How do I get educated on something? Let's say I put my hand under the table somewhere and I get bitten.
You try to look at it, It's like you got to try and identify... It's tough.
The first thing you're going to get bitten by a snake. The first thing you're going to do, holy shit, I'm dying. I want to go to the hospital right now and get saved.
Yeah.
Well, you're not going to be in your senses. No matter how much you educate, you're not going to be in senses to look at the snake and be like, let me wait and watch which one is it. I know it's important, but it's so difficult.
That's the way it is. People should have a basic knowledge of these things. As people that live in areas where snakes are common. I had a good friend who was bitten by a coral snake in the Amazon. And when he got to the hospital 5 hours later, it's kind of the same thing. They don't really it's the middle of nowhere and it's not a very good hospital. And they tried to give him the wrong antivenom for a viper. But this was not a viper. This was more like a cobra. It's an elapid. So they have a neurotoxic venom, not the way a viper. So if they had given him the wrong antivenom, then it surely would have killed him. Because then he would have the snake venom and the wrong antivenom all acting in some. Luckily, we had people on site who knew what was going on and were snake experts. And they said, no. Even though he can't breathe anymore, he's telling you that's not the right thing. And so the one friend actually they tried to put it in. They pulled it out. They said, no. So we're overriding the doctors on this one because we know.
But do you learn to sense something that probably we can't sense when you're in the jungle for very long barefoot?
I mean, look, anyone who's in the jungle for a very long time learns to sense things in a way that people from the outside cannot. When you first go to the jungle, everything is just green. You just see all this green, plants. But then as you're in the jungle for a longer period of time, you're like, oh, wait, that's the Wikungo palm. And you're like, that's the kapok tree. And you're like, that's the Remo Caspi. And you're like, all of a sudden you're like, wait, no. I know this. This is the one we use for the medicine. This is the one that has really good wood that they use for boats. And you're like, this plant has delicious fruit. And one by one, when you hang out with these people, you start to learn until it's no longer just green. It's this incredible forest. And you start to see, the scene in The Matrix where Neo looks up and all of a sudden he sees the code. You start to be able to see the code and you go, oh, okay, I understand. And you go, now in those termite nests is a certain type of bird that makes its nest in there with the termites and all of a sudden you're like, pew, 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 and you're like, well, this whole ecosystem works together. And you get a glimpse of how it's actually interconnected. And you start to go, okay, well, I'm thirsty and there's no clean water around. And it's like, I can find either bamboo or that other type of vine. And you go, I can't find where I am. I can climb that tree. I can climb these trees. I can't climb. Wasps always live in that type of plant. I shouldn't go over there. And it's like you start to. So, of course, if you take a person out of the city and throw them into the jungle, the first thing they're going to do is trip and fall and slip and walk into a wasp nest and eat the wrong fruit and die. It would be disastrous. But, if you go behind someone like JJ and he can teach you little by little and say, no, don't touch that. Don't touch that. That helps. And so, at this point, I could take you through the jungle and keep you safe in a way that you wouldn't be able to do for yourself at first.
You said they must be holding a lot of wrong beliefs.
Yeah.
Right. What's your guess? What would be one wrong belief they must be holding?
Wrong beliefs. I mean, when I did a lot of anthropology in college, and I remember reading about these anthropologists that got to New Guinea and they found this really remote tribe, and I think they were all in the trees. And they were all really scared and they weren't interacting with each other because they all believed that witchcraft, I could put a spell on you and something bad was going to happen and the other tribes could. And they had so many wrong beliefs about, no matter how hard I try, look, I can't do anything to you. I'm trying right now to knock you over. It's like, what witchcraft? Let's talk about science. Mm-hmm. So thinking they can cure an infection by rubbing, so God only knows. Like we are all exposed to, look, we're sitting here with modern technology all around us and our lives have been, I've had my life saved by Western medicine many times. And how many people around the world have had that happen? Children born with a cleft palate, people that are blind that can see, women that would have had their babies die get to live. It's just, there's so many amazing things that modern science does for people, saving their lives, bettering their lives. And so we have to balance the incredible gift of modern civilization as well as the fact that with all this population and technology comes the destruction of nature. And then people romanticize these tribes and they go, oh, but they're still living a beautiful life in the middle of nature and they're free. And it's like, no, they're not free. They're suffering and they're trying to find their next meal. And whenever it rains, you know what they do? They sit in the rain because they don't have shelter. It's not romantic. And to the people that think it's romantic, you would die in the first day of trying that life. Like it wouldn't work. And so I just think it's hysterical when people go, oh, they're such beautiful. No, it's nothing beautiful about it. It's brutal. You know how many tropical diseases I've had? Do you know how many I've had tiger bites and crocodile bites and anaconda bites and stingray stings? And if you think it's fun doing what I did, also, the thing of following your dream doesn't pay a lot of money. In fact, it doesn't pay anything. Nobody's going to pay you to protect the forest. And so I have a lot of kids going, oh, I want to do what you do. I'm going to become a conservationist. I go, no, that's a terrible idea.
You mentioned you've been bitten by so many different species, right? In your book, you've mentioned you're like Jackson Pollock painting of old flesh of wounds.
Yeah, right? I heal really well. I heal like Wolverine. I wish my scars showed more. They don't really. I have there's a machete cut there, a big machete cut there. There's a big crocodile bite right there. There's a tooth still. I think there's a tooth still stuck in there from a crocodile bite, and he smacked me so hard that the tooth went through there, another tooth went through there, and my watch, a tooth went down the center of the watch and just cracked it, but it saved my wrist from being broken. That was cool. I've been bitten by just about everything there is to be bitten by.
Because you've been bitten by crocodiles, tigers, snakes.
Mm-hmm. Lots of snakes.
Right?
Yeah, when I started handling snakes, I said you have to catch 100 snakes, 100 non-venomous snakes before you're allowed to touch a venomous snake. That was my deal to myself.
And how do you identify venomous and non-venomous?
Well, if you're going to work with snakes, you have to know all the snakes. And for you, I would say that's like Most of us have a decent understanding of cars. You say that's a sedan, that's a pickup truck, that's a lorry. Like you know all the basics. These are the different types. And so with snakes, you go, that's a python, that's a cobra, that's a rattlesnake, that's a viper, that's a colobrid, that's an elapid. You learn all this, and so instantaneously you don't need to even think about it. You don't have time to think about it when you see them in the field. Okay. When you're in someone's kitchen and they're going, I think it's a king cobra, and you go in and it's a rat snake, and you're like, listen, man, it's fine. You can pick it up by the tail. It doesn't matter. And the whole village is coming out and they're going, no, it's a cobra. And it's like, it's a rat snake. And other times people are going, I'm pretty sure it's a rat snake. Just catch it. And then you go, and it's a cobra. And you're like, all right, listen, you have to know the difference with snakes. So
we were talking about your wounds, which, because you've been bitten by almost everything dangerous.
Yes.
Which one of the wounds taught you the most?
Stingray. I stepped on a stingray exactly a year ago, and it taught me the most because, I've been stung by bullet ants, and they're called bullet ants because when you get stung by a bullet ant, it feels like you've been shot. And there's so much venom that comes out of them. It's like being stung by a whole hive of bees all at once. And so that pain that radiates out of that, it goes up your veins and it makes you feel like your throat is closing. It makes you feel like your heart is pounding. It makes you feel like you're going to pass out and be sick. And you go, something's wrong. Something's wrong. And you instantly are so worried. And that lasts for 24 hours. And that's just a bullet ant. Yeah. Okay. So a stingray is 100 bullet ants, maybe 150. Maybe 1,000. It's so much worse. I thought the bullet ants and all the other stuff, I was tough. I want to get stung by a stingray. Oh, I was making deals with God. I was going, if you just please stop the pain, I'll do anything. I said, I was like, please, please, please. And then I started to go, no, there is no spoon. I'm above the pain. And I was like, I'm not above the pain. And I was just laying there going, and there's nothing I could do. And I think I'm tough, or I thought I was tough. And I was laying there going, I'm not tough. There's nothing I could do. I couldn't stand. I couldn't even couldn't even touch my foot to the ground because the pain was so bad. So I had to put it on my other leg. But then even this part hurt, and it's radiating up your body and it's swirling around, and everyone's going, do you want water? Do you want, what can we do? And you can't, you just got to watch it go. And so now in that situation where I'm in the most pain I've ever been in by 100, by so far, I thought I knew what pain was. I had no idea.
Does it travel all around your body?
All over your body. So it went in through my foot, and then it goes all over. So you have a horrible headache, and you feel it in everywhere.
So the way bullet ant makes you you're choking. What does it make you feel like?
Stingray is like you took an electrical wire, dipped it in battery acid, and then shoved it into your veins, and then turned on the electricity, and it's just straight through you. It's the worst, most horrible pain. It vibrates. It's literally like being shocked. And so you think, wow, am I going to have tissue necrosis and nerve damage, and I'm going to get a huge infection? And what if I go into some sort of shock from this and I could just die right now? You just don't know what's going to happen. Everybody reacts differently. But this is 20 years after I met JJ, and now I employ his brothers and nephews, and they're all guides. We have this awesome ecotourism business where we bring people to the jungle, and that helps us protect it. And his brother and his nephew were with me that day, William and Ella, and they saw me get hit by the stingray. They helped me back to the research station, and then they went and they collected medicine from the forest. They got Cecropia and Amacisa, and they cooked it into a poultice, into basically a cake of medicine, and then they bake that inside of a leaf, and they put that over the wound, and it sucks out the venom, and it heals the wound. And so the last guy I saw get stung by a stingray, he was off his feet for 2 months. I was off my feet for 1 day because the local people, that's the indigenous knowledge. That's the other side where their grandfathers, and grandmothers all the way back have been learning from the forest. And so when this stuff happens, they go, well, we have the remedy. We have the antidote because they have that culture.
Then you've also said that anaconda, they break your bones before it actually kills you, right? The grip breaks your bone.
Yep.
And you've been
the first
gripped
anaconda,
by the anaconda.
Yes, the first anaconda I ever caught. I didn't know that this is the thing, JJ's experience, right? So he goes, there's anaconda over there. I said, great. We're going to catch it. We're going to measure her. And now today we're putting out scientific papers on the population dynamics of lowland tropical anacondas. At this point, we were just starting. We didn't even have a research grant yet. We were just doing it. And I said, well, I got to learn how to catch these anacondas. You can't study them unless you know how to catch them. What are you going to do? How are you going to measure a snake that you can't restrain? You know, in the wild in Africa, they use the dart on the rhino, and the rhino goes down. They do all the procedures, and then they let it go. For a snake, you got to catch it. And so for these huge anacondas, I ran in and I just grabbed it by the head, and then the snake wrapped around my wrists. And I go, shit.
How does it feel? What does it feel?
Like your bones are going to break. And then also the problem is you're clamped on now. So even if you want to get rid of the snake, you can't, because he's got you now. She's got you. And so I immediately went, oh shit. And then the next coil comes around your head. And then it took it was bringing this and this so close together. And I'm going, JJ, I couldn't, there's no, and every time you exhale to breathe again, every time you go down, that's it. You're never going back up. You're never going to get that breath back again. And so it goes down and down and down and down. And then I've just felt my collarbones about to go. It says, when you take a stick and you start to go and you hear that crack, crack, crack. I heard the bones start going. And then JJ came in and just pulled the tail off and then pulled the next coil off. And I was like, I was okay. And then we unwrapped the whole thing and it was okay. But I experienced it inches from death. That was another one that.
But then
you learn respect.
And then the grandfather told you that it was a small anaconda.
Yes. So eso es una anacondita. Small snake.
Why? What did you think about the moment he said it was a small one?
Well, I went, oh. I said, I thought we were like heroes for catching this huge snake. And then he was like, yes, it's una anacondita. He's like, what is wrong with you guys? But I mean, this is a snake that's this thick. I mean, he's talking about snakes that are this thick. He's talking about huge snakes, like the biggest anacondas out in the deepest parts, in the deepest swamps. And this was a guy that had been everywhere in the Amazon. So we were like, dude, it's a huge 15-foot snake. He's like, I've seen 30-foot snakes. And you're like, oh, shit. Okay. Yeah.
This is about day. Let's talk about night. In your Jungle Keeper book, you've said that Amazon at night is a festival of sex and death.
The festival of sex and death that occurs every night in the Amazon. They call the Amazon the greatest natural battlefield on earth because in every acre of these vast, tremendous trees, you have frogs and snakes, reptiles, amphibians, birds, mammals, bats, all of it in the streams, in the branches, in the canopy. So it's not just the ground, it's also the vertical environment. So you're under 150 feet of canopy and leaves and vines. And so all of this is moving. And the spiders are eating the frogs, and the frogs are eating the insects, and the snakes are eating the frogs, and the other things are eating the snakes, and the ocelots are out looking for sleeping birds, and the jaguars are walking around looking for deer, and everything is eating everything. And then, of course, you have the frogs trying to mate. And so when you hear the frogs calling at night, the whole jungle is throbbing with this sound of the frogs calling because they're all just trying to mate, all the different species of frogs. And so then you have the night birds calling and you have the bats. And so everything is trying to eat and trying to mate. And so I say it's a festival of sex and death. It's very colorful, it's very loud, and it's very violent. So the jungle at night is incredible. The greatest freak show on earth. You see all kinds of things. Just a few weeks ago, I was in the jungle and we saw this frog. And the frog was doing this. It was doing this weird reaching thing in a puddle. And we couldn't figure out what was going on. And it was shaking like this. And then all of a sudden the frog flipped over and this big spider. The spider had been underneath the frog in the water, put its fangs into the frog. And the frog was getting envenomated through its chest. And then the spider just changed the balance and the frog flipped over and the spider pumped its venom into the frog. And the spider venom starts digesting the frog from the inside. And then eventually the spider will carry the frog off and then drink it from the inside. And so you have spiders eating lizards, spiders eating mice. You have snakes eating tapirs and deer. And it's wild. It's wild. There's a type of bat. There are these fruit bats and they fly with the seeds of the ironwood trees. And they're smart enough. They don't like it when you're on their trail because you're in their way. It's like their highway. And so they take the seeds and they like a World War II bomber. They drop the seeds so that it hits you. And they'll fly right over your face and throw a seed into your face. And it goes, hits you in the forehead. And you're like, bro. I mean, it's crazy. Those bats flying around you and moths flying around you and mosquitoes flying around you. And then same thing, the wasps are very calm. The wasps sit on their nest at night and the wasps say, look, we come in peace. We will be here. But if you fuck with us, we'll kill you. And it's like, so you just have to watch that as you're going through the jungle, that you don't ever. And the greatest danger is that under a leaf, you might not see it, that there's a wasp nest behind here, and then you chop that, and all of a sudden, bzz.
He said it's colorful.
Yeah.
Right? And jungle at night would be dark as hell. Walk me through 3 a.m.
Yeah.
as a human being.
Yeah.
And describe all your senses. Like in this, you're this human being in this festival of sex and death in middle of Amazon at 3 a.m. in the forest. Tell me, what do you smell? What do you see? What do you feel? What do you hear?
Well, if you don't have a flashlight, you don't see anything. You're blind. Because under the canopy, there's no light. In the daytime, in the Amazon rainforest, only 3% of the sunlight hits the forest floor. Think about that. 3% of the sunlight hits the ground. That's how dense the canopy of the Amazon is. So at night, let's just say there's no moon out. Let's say it's a night where there's no moon and there's clouds. You're in the cave. You're in the belly of a black hole. You're nowhere. And so this piece of modern technology that someone's figured out how to make a battery and this whole flashlight. I mean, who mined the metal? It's so supernatural. We're so used to civilization. If you're out in the jungle by yourself, you wouldn't even be able to make fire to make a torch. Everything's wet. And so that's the other thing that nature reminds you of, is how helpless you are by yourself, how much we rely on our industry and organization and the fact that we can hand down knowledge through text and interchange it and translate it. You're out in the wild, you go, wait a second. I know all about accounting. I don't know anything about making fire. And so you're out in the jungle at night and you can't see. You have to sit down. You sit down in the middle of the jungle and the frogs are howling and you hear jaguars and you hear night birds and the whole jungle is throbbing and all of this noise is overwhelming you. It's screaming at night. The festival of sex and death is happening all around you. And you just had to sit there from probably 11 p.m. to 6 a.m., just sitting in the jungle. And I woke up in the morning and I'd fallen asleep a little bit, but the amount of mosquito bites, because they all find you eventually. There's not a lot of mosquitoes in one place, but if you sit there for long enough, they'll find you.
How does it feel like when you're sitting in the...
Well, because you're sitting there and then something will touch you in the darkness and you don't know what it is. And it might be a moth that's this big, or it could be a big millipede crawling over your foot. I was once camping. I was lost for days in the Amazon. This is a different night. And I was in a hammock in the darkness, in the middle of the night. Jaguar came up this close to my head. Because in a hammock, you just have the fabric. And that one, she was growling in the night straight at me. She just came up. She was smelling me. I was in one of those places where the animals have no idea what a human is. And so I wanted to turn on my light. She just growled. I said, no, you don't turn on your light. And then I heard, you could just hear her move around a little bit. She went off into the jungle with almost no sound. And again, very humbling experience. Because you go, man, I was not in control of that situation. I was just like a human taco floating in the air. She could eat you if she wanted. So yeah, the jungle at night is not where we belong. And the only way to go there is with this amazing piece of technology, a headlamp that lights everything up. And you only have that as long as you have your rechargeable batteries, which you recharged off of the grid. And so, yeah, it's almost like, it's like the way to go under the ocean. You need to have a mask and snorkel and a dive tank. It's like, this is not a place that,
How does jungle smell like at night?
Jungle at night. I can tell you that as you walk, you go through many different smells. First of all, there's areas where there's flowers all over the floor. Places where the monkeys during the day were up in a tree, and so there's flowers all over the floor. There's fermenting fruit. Again, the parrots or the monkeys or whatever's working up in the trees has dropped thousands of fruit, and so there's this incredibly fragrant smell coming up off and you get it's turning into alcohol as it ferments, and so you get like drunk monkeys and animals, but beautiful smells for the most part, unless something dies, and then you have the stench of death. But the jungle, as you walk, every round in the trail, you start smelling something different. In fact, when I bring people to the jungle, they say that, like, wow, everywhere smells different. Everything is some new smell. And there's so many hundreds of species of fruit that you couldn't possibly name them all. So you just, we just look at them. This one's purple. This one's orange. This one's...
Does it smell different between day and night?
Everything is different between day and night. The sounds are different. The pace of the jungle is different. In the afternoon, you walk through the jungle and the birds are happy and calling and everybody's chirping and you can walk fast. And then at night, you have that totally different feeling. And you have the frogs just doing the frog thing, and you feel the mist over the jungle, and it's very, very, you don't walk fast. Nothing is happening quickly. You're careful. And the jungle's this is the time when the jaguars are out. This is the time when you can't see. You're at a disadvantage. All these animals have night vision. We don't have night vision. And so they can all see. You can't. They have these deer and everything else. They have better hearing, better sight, better smell. We're at a severe disadvantage. And so if the light goes out, we're helpless. It's an interesting place to be.
You said there was a jaguar right here. What's the first sign that tells you that something big is nearby, but it's invisible?
Well, first of all, I was asleep. And then you wake up and I could hear... She was breathing like that. She was taking big sniffs because she didn't know what it is. To an animal, we smell like shampoo and bug spray and deodorant and all this crazy shit that they've never seen or heard of before. It smells terrible and probably has a huge scent footprint where they can smell us from hundreds of feet away. And so she probably just came up to me in the night and started saying, okay, I'm just going to smell it. So I woke up and I heard her breathing and I could feel the warmth of her breath on my skin. So I knew there's only one thing that would do that. Also, the growl of a big cat. We all know what that sounds like. When you hear that straight into your ear, the volume of air being moved, you go, okay, that's the voice of the jungle. That's what that is.
These were animals. There was also a point where police intercepted messages from narco phones, right? That said, if you see JJ and Paul,
take them out.
Right? And the cop who helped you was murdered the next day.
There's a few different stories there. Yeah. Those are different incidents. But yes, right now, still the threat is very high. Through all these years, we were working out in the middle of nowhere and it was the wild. And then over the last few years, the narcos have come in, and these are people that are trying to make cocaine. They want to cut down the forest. They burn the forest. They make a field, and they're trying to just grow coca plants, turn it into cocaine. And now that we're the jungle keepers, we have rangers, and the Peruvian law says that you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to cut down the forest. You're not allowed to grow cocaine. And these are people from another part of the country that are coming in. It's like somebody from North India coming to South India and burning their backyard. It's not allowed. And so they're not foreigners, but they're certainly not locals. And so some people have a hard time understanding this. I say, if somebody from Los Angeles came to your house in New York or Vermont and burned down your entire backyard and put up tents and started growing drugs, it would not be okay. And so this is wilderness where there's actually, to the credit of the Peruvian government, they say you can't just destroy the wilderness. It has to remain intact. So these people are coming and destroying the wilderness, and we are trying to protect it. And so, yes, they've identified that me and JJ are usually the ones out in front, flying the drones and figuring out where they are and working with the rangers. And so, yes, they said that if you see them, could you please, they sent it out to their whole network. They said, if anybody sees them, just shoot them. And then they don't have to worry about it. So that's the way it works. Environmental activists and leaders, indigenous leaders, are killed constantly in the Amazon. Constantly. Because these loggers and miners and narcos, they understand that if you take the head off the snake, you solve your problem. And so from Chico Mendes to Dorothy Stang to, what was his name? Who recently, really recently, Dom, I think his name was Dom Phillips, all these people who are trying to find a way to save the forest and out there working with the locals, if you get in the way of the illegal trades making money, then they'll just take you out. And so they're doing this all over the Amazon. To the people that are trying to save the planet, the local indigenous people that are saying, no, I want to protect our culture. I want to protect our way of life, the fish and the trees and the clean air and the climate, all of this. And then there's these people, like I said, these industries that are stealing from the rest of us. And so at least the companies Like what I've seen in India, the companies come in and they're doing it legally. They'll get permission to go destroy this stuff, which is crazy to me. Out here, it's the Wild West. They have guns, they have boats, and out there's no one to stop them from killing you. And in the jungle, you get 2 nights of Amazon, and the maggots and everything will digest your body.
So, and what was another story where a cop who helped you was murdered the other day?
Yeah, that happened. Basically, they'd seen us fly the drone, and they chased us, and then we needed the cops to help us out of that situation. Otherwise, we would have been caught by the narcos. And one of the guys who helped us was murdered later that day. And so it's like, this has become now serious, where we have people hunting us. I have a hit out on me. JJ has a hit out on him. And they know that, the Jungle Keeper's emblem is people trying to protect the forest, which gets in the way of their business. And so we're working with the Peruvian authorities to try and dismantle this illegal activity that's happening. And in the old days, it was very fun. We were doing macaw research and catching anacondas and going on expeditions. And now I travel with the security detail, and that's not that much fun.
How do you process this psychologically, where you know that there's a price on your head, but in your heart, you're just a guy who's trying to maybe count butterflies?
Yes, that's just what I was going to say. It's like, I am I've literally devoted my life to protecting the butterflies and the birds and the snakes and all these little animals, these helpless endangered species that are being wiped off the face of the earth. And it's kind of funny that you could devote yourself to doing something so pure, just protecting the animals that can't protect themselves from humans. And then there's humans that want to kill you for doing that. And so that's kind of funny and kind of frustrating. And then there's also the element of that truly living in an environment where at your own home, you are a target, and thinking at any moment while you're having coffee in the morning, while you're swimming, that at any moment somebody could come by with the intention of shooting you and putting a piece of metal through your fucking skull and ending your life on purpose is terrifying. So here we're standing up for one of the most precious things on our planet. And so it's turning into a war. I mean, the fight to protect elephants, the fight to protect ocean fisheries, the fight to protect our world from being destroyed has become an all-out war. I just posted today on Instagram an incredible picture of a Kenyan ranger standing in front of a pile of elephant tusks. There's just 25-foot tall pile of elephant tusks. You imagine all the elephants that were killed, and the ranger is guarding those tusks that are more valuable per weight than gold, rhino horn and elephant tusk, and they're going to burn them to protect them from going on the black market. And he's standing there with a machine gun. And that's what it's come to.
And you've spent your life protecting just like these guys, right? And you've also said that for a year after this terror thing became real, you have spent like a year and a half in sheer terror, right? Knowing that somebody might kill you, there's a price on your head. How do you sleep? What does it do to your body when you're in sheer terror, knowing that maybe somebody can come and like put a gun on your head and then just shoot you?
I think at first it's sheer terror, and then at some point it sort of dissipates and you get used to it, And actually, I was in the city, and I was coming from the airport and going to the jungle, and I said, I just want to stop and get some bananas. I always have a banana. And so I wanted to go to the market, and then the whole security team has to get out of the car. And I have 6 guys standing around me in a circle. I said, you know what? I said, I actually might be the safest I've ever been. I said, if anybody comes anywhere near me, they're going to shoot them.
In this scenario, there are protectors who are the local guys who are probably standing with a gun in front of an elephant protecting them. And then there's this whole cartel of illegal black market. They're trying to maybe smuggle animals or do drugs, guns, whatever, that side. How do you earn the trust of local guy that you're not one of them? Because you might be, because they must have been fooled multiple times by someone trying to be one of theirs and then in the end just destroying that.
Interesting. I don't know. A lot of the guys that end up being rangers like this, protecting the elephants in Africa, or I think first they see that you're working with other people. So they see me working with rangers protecting forest. Unless I was putting my whole life as a giant trick just to trick them, then I think they're smart enough to go, okay, well, he's actually doing his job. And they can talk to the other locals and they say, yeah, I mean, I have a good job working with him. I don't think that that's so much of earning trust. I think that when you first get to the Amazon and they go, you're a foreigner, silly white guy, and they treat you like that, then you have to prove yourself. You go, I can walk barefoot with you. And I've seen a lot of people fail where they go, I can walk barefoot, and they start walking barefoot, but they haven't practiced. You have to let the wild turn. This thing I said about being on a boat for 10 days with no roof, exposed to the sun, exposed to the rain, exposed to the wind, your skin changes. It becomes rougher and harder and more tan and protected against the sun. And you figure out how to get through the times of the rain. You start just doing push-ups. You start making a lot of noise with your friends and getting excited the whole time and just keeping the energy up. And if you walk barefoot enough, over time, your feet develop callus and you become able to walk barefoot. And so you have to physically change. And nature will do that to your body. And so, yeah, if you just show up and you take your shoes off and you've been in an office for 16 years and you have soft little office feet, those thorns are going to go straight through your feet and it's going to hurt you just to walk on gravel. And you take people like JJ or me at this point and we could walk on jagged rocks. It doesn't matter. But that's because we've built up that rhino skin in our feet. It takes years to do that. And people go, oh, you should go get a pedicure. I'm like, and let them take away my greatest asset, my superpower? No.
Okay. But coming back to the illegal market, like the narco guys who are trying to destroy everything. What's the most disturbing illegal thing which is moving right now, which we might not be aware of?
Well, the fact that next to guns, drugs, and women, the illegal trade in wildlife is the fourth largest black market on Earth. And so the fact that pangolins all over the world, elephants, tigers, all of the stuff, timber, is all being illegally sourced and traded around the world. So that's terrifying. But then on top of that, encased in that, guns, drugs, the human trafficking we see even in the Amazon where the illegal gold miners will set up a camp. And then, there's hundreds of illegal gold miners, all these men working out in the wild, and then they want prostitutes. And so then people go and they find girls from the communities and they bring them in. So there's a problem of human trafficking happening. And these indigenous communities, for example, they've never heard of such a thing. And so when somebody comes and says, hey, your daughter's very pretty. She'd be great to work in a restaurant in the city. And then she could earn money and send it back to you. These people go, I want a better life for my daughter. And they send her with these people and they're just recruiters and they never see their daughter again. And so this is happening across the Amazon. It sort of is a collateral effect of the gold mining and the narco trafficking. And so that's incredibly dark and disturbing.
So one side is of the illegal trade was women and human trafficking, which you just touched upon. But the other side, you also said wildlife, like there are animals which are being traded. Who are the people who are buying these animals?
Well, it's a problem all over the world.
Yeah.
I think Christopher Columbus brought back a pair of scarlet macaws to the Queen of Spain. And ever since then, since the European world found out about, but it's everyone. It's even the tribes like to make headdresses out of macaw feathers. You have these long red feathers. There's nothing like it. That scarlet color and the blue. And so people have been killing macaws for a few centuries. And, these feathers will sell wherever you bring them. And then, of course, in Asia, you have Chinese medicine that believes that pangolin scales. Pangolins are these beautiful little anteaters with a long tongue. It's like a living Pokemon. It's the most beautiful animal. And they're the most trafficked animal on Earth. And then you have tigers that all over the world have been destroyed because people are poisoning them, killing their forests. And then on top of all that, you have people that believe that tiger penis wine will help you in some way. And I don't know what I've heard that they think that drinking tiger dick will make yours larger. That's what I've understand. I don't know if that's true. I don't know why they want it, but they want tiger dick. So Tigers are going extinct because people have erectile dysfunction and they don't know about Viagra. And then elephants for the ivory, rhinos for the ivory, but then it's also medicinal. They believe that rhino horn will cure certain things.
And which country is buying the most?
China.
They're just buying animals left, right,
Yes,
center.
they also just made a huge shipping port on the coast of Peru because they specifically want to start extracting resources from the Amazon.
And it's just because of their ancient, some story that they believe in?
Well, here's an
medicinal
example of wrong beliefs. Rhino horn is made out of the same thing our fingernails are. If you think that rhino horn will cure you, you might as well just cut a bunch of fingernails into a cup, boil it up, and drink that. For whatever you think it's going to cure, it's not going to cure it. Same thing goes with tiger dick. Doesn't matter how much tiger dick you eat, it's not going to help your dick do anything differently than it's already doing. And so I don't know where these ancient beliefs came from, or shark fins. I think was just a delicacy. It's not that there were supposed to be any medicinal compounds. I don't know what they use pangolin scales for. Why they're the most trafficked animal on earth? They're not eating them. It's some remedy for something. Where it's like if you have a cough or if you have cancer, it's like rubbing a rhino horn on yourself is not going to help. So there's an example of wrong beliefs. Get it in a laboratory. Get scientists to study it, and you can actually find out if it is effective. These are some of the tools that we have in modern society. We can share them with everybody, and it will save. This is the thing: it saves lives. It improves people's lives, and it saves animals. Knowledge is an amazing thing. I get on people for being snake racist. People go, "Oh, I hate snakes." I say, "Well, that's terrible. Snakes don't hate you." I'm like, that's being snake racist.
You're trying to protect this. You're trying to protect this entire ecosystem, this life, these forests, right? And for that, one of the ways that you do is you transform or turn loggers and miners into rangers, right? First, explain me what are rangers. And then second, give me an example of a man you have transformed, like a specific person. And what were they doing before?
Yeah.
What did it take you to turn them? What are they doing now?
Well, a ranger is the term we broadly use for people that patrol wild areas and protect wildlife. So there's rangers in Africa that are protecting elephants. There's forest department rangers in India that are protecting southern India's ecosystems and northern India's ecosystems. In the Amazon, we've created our own ranger force because there's nothing out there. And so when I first went, it was just raw wild. And you had seen this in my book where the first few chapters, I'm just this kid in the jungle and there's nothing. And then sort of what forced us to start Jungle Keepers and to start protecting the forest is that the area that used to be wild, we saw the first road come. And we saw the people start coming in from outside and start taking down the forest. And so these loggers were coming from another part of Peru, coming in with their families. They'd get a chainsaw and they'd just start cutting down these huge trees, bigger than this room, way bigger than this room. And we just started going up to them. You know, we saw them at one point. We saw in this one area, this one piece of land, several thousand acres of land, maybe 5,000 acres. They cut down 80 ironwood trees in 1 year. And there was nothing we could do to stop it. And finally I went to JJ and said, "Who owns this land?" I said, "There has to be." We would hear them and I'd go, boom. They'd go down these huge trees, ancient trees, thousands of species living on a single tree. And I went, who owns the land? Like, is it the government's land? Is it? He said, no. The government leases it out to these individual people. And I said, "Well, who is it?" And he said, "Well, it's these guys and they've turned into loggers now." So we just went and talked to the loggers, and JJ walked into the logging camp barefoot. "I'm local, you're local. Let's all sit down and talk about it." And so he's like, "Look, how much do you get paid a day?" And they said about, $15, 45, 50, 60 soles. And he said, "Okay." He said, "Who do you work for?" They said, "We don't really work for anybody. We're just cutting the trees because we have access to this land because my grandfather got it leased." And JJ's like, "Okay." And he said, "But how much, you're going to make that much a day for how many more years are you going to cut all these trees?" And they said, "Oh, maybe over the next 5 years." Great. Okay. What if we just bought the land for a much bigger price right now and took that off your hands? And then for your daily rate, make 3 times that. And we'll give you a cool t-shirt. You get to be part of our team. And you just patrol this same forest. You can live in it, but you stop cutting down the trees. And they went, Really? They said, that sounds... So lots of money now and then more money moving forward. And we don't have to do any work. I said, no, you just have to drive around and make sure nobody else is cutting down the trees. And they went, yes. They were like, yes, of course. And so that was like the first deal that we made. And then we just kept repeating that. We just kept doing it again and again and again and again. And then we even, a few years ago, we had this piece of land called the Ancient Forest where we realized no one's ever been. It's just an untouched ecosystem. And there's ways that we can tell that. There's no sign of human activity. There's absolutely no sign. And so we discovered that this was like 10,000 acres, completely untouched, but now there's a new road going in. They built a log bridge over this stream with a road, and they were bringing heavy machinery over to start cutting these trees. And so the same thing, we said, wait, who's got the rights to this land? We found out somebody that lived in another part of the Amazon technically had the rights to this big piece of chunk of land, 10,000 acres, that the government had just drawn at some point. They said, you guys can work on there. Oh, wait a second, but the line that somebody drew in an office on the ground is this incredible wonderland of ancient forest. So, okay. So now we have jungle keepers. I sent my directors to go talk to this landowner. We spoke to him, found out how we could protect the land. We did a huge fundraiser online. And that's why this stuff is so important, because people see this and then they help. So people all over the world have been helping us, sending $5, $10, whatever. And so we said, hey, we have this ancient forest. We have to raise money. We raised so much money in 48 hours. We were able to protect the 10,000 acres. We told the guy, we signed a contract, and he said, you know what? A week later, the land was handed over to jungle keepers. Great. That's on paper. Now we need to get in the boat, drive to the land, take the car for 3 hours to get to the top, hike in. And then we show up in the middle of the jungle, and there's all these loggers, and they're sitting there with their cigarettes and their chainsaws, and there's a couple dogs and a shack, and they have like a pot with plantains in it. And we said, hey, you're the owner of the land sold it to us. So you guys are out of business. And they went, no. We showed them the paper. And they went, what does that mean for us? And they said that we have no more work. We said, actually, we brought you these T-shirts. We want you guys to give us your spark plugs to the chainsaws, and we'll just, you guys can, we're going to bring you with us to meet our other rangers. They'll train you. And then you come back. They said, can we keep working here though? We love this forest. We said, wait. You're the loggers and you love the forest. They said, yes, we love this forest. They said, it's so full of animals and we love to eat the piranha and it's just so wild. We love being out here. And we said, okay, great. But then don't destroy it. And they said, yeah, it's really sad. Everybody's destroying the forest. We're like, you were destroying the forest. And they went, yeah, but we didn't have any other way of making money. That's a huge lesson.
You've also done a solo expedition documentary.
Ish, yes.
Dark green.
Yes.
What didn't make it into that documentary?
What didn't make it into that documentary? I don't remember. Dark green was a long time ago now. I do remember it. Oh, I'll tell you what didn't make it into. I'll tell you what didn't make it into dark green is that, we had to have camera people with us, obviously, right? So it couldn't be a full solo. A real solo, I'm out by myself for days or weeks. And for this, we had to have the filmmakers come with us. And so they said I had to act like I was on a solo. Not act, but do a solo. But there was going to be people filming me like I was a wild animal. We went and we did this. And then when we were done filming, we stopped by this indigenous community way, way out, days, like 5 days from the nearest town. And there's all these local people, and they had some spider monkey they were eating. And now again, people go, how could you eat spider monkey? And it's like, dude, you're in a local person's house and they eat spider monkey. The only way to have a rapport with them and to trust, picture a foreigner coming to India and being like, no, I'm not going to eat chana masala. Like, no, chaat is disgusting. Like, I'm not going to eat it. I protest. You'd all be like, fucking foreigner, like, get out of here. And so it's the same in the Amazon. If you go sit in someone's house and they're like, we've made turtle. You're like, okay, let me try some, And then they go, okay, you're not just a foreigner, you understand the local ways. And so you do that for a few years. And all of a sudden they're like, well, Paul's not like the rest of them, with his science pad and his big rubber boots and staying out of the water. They're like, no. They're like, he's more local than we are. Like, they always say, piel de gringo, corazón de nativo. They say, foreigner's skin and a heart of the native. And they're like, it's just, but that's how you build that trust.
After spending like months in jungle and these experiences and all of that, once you come back to the city, what's the most human thing you want to do?
Freezing cold drinks. Because in the jungle, you're always drinking warmish water. Even if you were to bring a beer out into the jungle or a Coke Zero or something, it's just going to be warm all the time. It's never cold. And so after weeks on an expedition, it's like that first time you get really like, I love ice water, freezing cold Coca-Cola. Like that's something I miss. That's the only thing I miss. Everything else, I'm like, I'll take the jungle. I mean, one thing that I hate is coming back to a shower. I mean, every day it's like you sweat and you work and then you jump into the river and you dive into the river and you're swimming and your whole body is covered in water and you pick your head up and there's birds and butterflies and crocodiles and it's so much fun. And then you're standing in a cold room with some crappy little water dripping out of the ceiling. You're like, this is not as much fun.
Do you enjoy hot water anymore? Like the hot water?
Nah, I don't care. I mean, it's nice. It's nice, but there's a lot of things that are nice that we don't need. Hot water is fun if it's cold. Everyone enjoys it feels good. Hot water is nice. But we boil, if it's really cold, sometimes it gets cold in the jungle, you boil a pot of water and then you take a cup shower. It's pretty much just as enjoyable.
You've made an argument that if you remove humans, nothing will change. But if you remove ants, the whole ecological system will collapse.
Yeah, I think that was originally E.O. Wilson, Edward Wilson's, who was a famous entomologist who described, I think, some incredible number of ant species. But he was saying ants are so fundamental to any ecosystem, like leafcutter ants in the Amazon digest 17% of the total biomass of the jungle. I mean, that's so much stuff, and they do almost a fifth of it. That's incredible. So they're engineering the whole system. They're recycling all of that debris and detritus. And so around the world, ants make the world go round. They're the staple of all these ecosystems. And so if you removed ants, all of our ecosystems would crash. If you removed humans, they're almost overnight. I mean, during COVID in the national parks, they said the bears were walking on the roads. Everybody was having fun. All these things got cleaner. There was dolphins swimming around Venice. It was like the animals were like dope. They thought it was great. And so if you removed humans, the forests would sing and the rivers would flow and everything would be fine. However, I don't like one thing, and that is that there's a lot of anti-human sentiment in environmentalism, and it's wrong. This idea, though, is dangerous. Yes, if there was less people, yes, if we were more respectful of wilderness areas, these systems would flourish and our lives would be better. But a lot of environmentalists, they take a wrong turn into feeling like humans are bad. We are dirty. And it's like sort of this, it's an almost religious guilt where you're like self-flagellating if under the environmentalism of saying like humans are the reason that everything is dying. Yeah, well, humans are also the reason that everything is flourishing. And whatever you believe in, whatever religion you are, there's, humans, the human brain is the most complex thing in the known universe. And we are matter witnessing itself. And whatever spiritual orientation you come from, if you don't like humans, then you're missing out on the joy of life. All the art and science and beauty and so much that we've created is only valuable because we're here to protect it. And even if you go to the Bible, it says you have dominion over the earth and its creatures. And God is saying, you are the protectors. You are the highest form of life. And it's even someone like Jane Goodall didn't, people say, well, don't think, think of yourself as part of the ecosystem. We're not better than any one animal. It's like, listen, you can say that you're not as valuable as a hedgehog, but I'm pretty sure you think you are if I put a gun against your head. Who do I kill? You or the hedgehog? Please don't kill me. Kill the fucking rodent. But I think this thing of, when I grew up, there's a lot of environmental guilt where people are like, humans are making gorillas extinct. Humans are doing this. We're sucking the life out of it. Yeah, sure. But we're also the only thing that we have to observe the universe. The human experience is the whole thing. And so we are now an integral part of this planet. And so anyone that tells you we should just make ourselves extinct, that person needs help. Watch them carefully. What we do need to do is become more intelligent. Are we just a clever primate, or do we have the ability to truly transcend and become an intelligent life form that realizes that all humans are the same, that we should treat everyone like our brothers and sisters. While this spaceship is going around the dark side of the moon, the first thing they said is, man, looking back at the Earth, the one guy was just saying it. He goes, but we are on a spaceship. He goes, you're on this little rock floating through space. None of us have any idea why. Again, there's so many different belief systems, but the fact is we all just woke up here and we have to deal with this living system, and we are all united in the fact that we live on the only place in the universe with life. So expanding that compassion, finding a way to live together, this is the challenge. And if you fail that challenge, then you start seeing crime. Then you start seeing desperate people that will do things to try and survive, like the human trafficking, like the logging, like all this stuff. And so, but if at the same time, if we all pass on the good deeds, the education, the help to others, it can change the whole world. And so we're at this very crucial moment in time where it's like, do we lose ecosystems and turn into a post-apocalyptic nightmare where everything is falling apart and humans are desperate and killing each other and eating each other like a zombie movie? Or can we continue to be stewards of this beautiful planet that has giraffes and birds and a blue sky, and we can still drink some of the water in some places? And like, there's lessons that we can learn from the animals that have rebounded and the humans that have made incredible discoveries in science. We have to choose right now which path we're going down as a species. And for the first time, we're united as a global society. And so for me, I've chosen to protect the Amazon. That's my mission. And I think that if we see more of that, where people choose a specific mission, instead of being outraged and overwhelmed by everything happening on Earth, we have this little window into everywhere, not healthy. Think about your family, your community, what you can do to make that better. There's wildlife in everyone's backyard.
Yeah.
It's not just, for the American listeners, they're thinking, wow, India sounds amazing. Cobras and elephants and tigers. And then when I have done talks in India, everyone's like, dude, I want to go see the Amazon. It sounds so wild. And I'm like, dude, when I grew up, I wanted to go to India because and Indians themselves are sitting there going, no, I want to go somewhere else. And so everyone's thinking the other place is so cool. And in my own backyard, how many songbirds are in my parents live in the Hudson Valley. I spend most of my time in the Amazon, but how many songbirds, coyotes, foxes, deer? We have humpbacks right in the Hudson Bay, bald eagles, ospreys. Like, there's just so much life here. There's American eels. There's giant sturgeons in the Hudson River. Amazing wildlife. And so everywhere, everyone has some sort of wildlife in their backyard. Even in the city, you have, falcons coming in now and hawks coming in and owls animals are learning how to coexist with humans in a way.
There's one more threat to this wildlife, this ecosystem, and you've spent months tracking that illegal trade, right? You've been undercover trying to figure out them.
Yeah.
What's one thing that is happening right now in the world of illegal trade that normal people like me or the public doesn't know about?
Well, I think that the level to which law enforcement has learned, back in the day, last 30, 40 years, if you were trying to traffic cocaine in through an airport or through a shipping port, they're going to get you. They've been working towards understanding how to, they would pack it into the walls of shipping containers, into submarines, into everything. But for the most part, wildlife, you could traffic. You hear about people coming into the U.S., especially through Florida, with, boxes and boxes of endangered species, bags of endangered snakes and birds. And now that law enforcement is becoming more savvy to the fact that these species are going extinct, people care more now because they've become more educated. They understand that if we don't stop this, it's going to be gone. And that by doing this job of stopping the trade in illegal wildlife, you're saving the world. It's like you're saving these species' entire future. And that's what I was saying about the heritage thing, that, if you just take a deer, or when I'm in the Amazon, there's these big fish called paco. It's a vegetarian piranha, basically. Huge fish. They get to be almost a meter long. And, we catch them. And again, to catch this fish, you need a big 10-foot pole, a big, thick piece of fishing line, and a hook about this big, about the size of my hand. And you whack that into the water, and hours and hours or days and you have to wait till the river's low. You can't do it when the river's high. And so catching this fish is incredibly difficult. Making fire in the Amazon is very difficult. But when you finally have the luck and skill and right place sort of fortune to get a paco out of the river, and then, we prepare it properly and we eat it, you are incorporating into your physical system the energy of an animal that has, for millions of years, lived in this ecosystem, survived all these elements, evaded predators. And again, only the strong ones are surviving. And so it's become stronger and stronger and stronger. And this genetic lineage is this species. It's so incredibly powerful that we get to interact with these species. And whether it's something that you eat or it's something that's flying by you in the sky, these species are irreplaceable. They're not, these are just the species we grew up. These species most of these were all here before, we grew up around elephants. We grew up running from lions. Yeah. And George, if you're a Maasai warrior, chasing lions. And it's like, we grew up with the ecosystems they made. Elephants garden their ecosystem. All these animals have a part in this. And so now it's our turn to give back and save them. Creation is ours to protect. So
this illegal trade that you were talking about, do they have the same root as drugs? Are they the same people who are trading drugs?
A lot of times, yeah.
And wildlife
together? A lot
together?
of times, in Africa, you have like terrorist cells funding themselves you have Middle Eastern terrorists funding themselves through rhino horn and elephant tusk because it's worth so much. I think rhino horn is still by weight more valuable than gold. Wild, because it's so rare. It's so rare. It's so stupid.
What's one animal which is at the verge of extinction just because of this illegal trade?
Well, pangolins. If anybody listening doesn't know what a pangolin looks like, search a pangolin. They're the most beautiful. They have these giant scales all over them, and it's kind of like an anteater. They have a long tongue, and there's, they get, some of them get pretty big, others of them are small, but they're all across Africa and Asia, Southeast Asia. They're in India, and they're just such beautiful animals, and they're being so trafficked, and they're just being murdered and pulled out of ecosystems to the point that we might lose pangolins. And it's like, none of this needs to be happening. And what's amazing is if you tell desperate people, if you just bring us this, we'll give you a little bit of money. And it's like, it just shows you how much desperation there is on the earth, because no one with a good business plan is going out hunting pangolins.
Yeah, I was doing some math and looking at some figures. It's the export just from Amazon and African jungles is about $23 billion a year.
Yeah. It's insane.
Illegal trade.
It's huge. You said that's just what? You say Africa and Amazon?
Yeah.
Just Africa's monstrous, and there's so many animals to exploit. I think the Amazon is protected a little bit by the size of the Amazon. For these people to go into the Amazon is harder. At least in Africa, you can drive up to a national park and almost everything has fences around it. You can duck under a fence. There's very few places in Africa that are truly wild, really, really wild. The Amazon is bananas. And so that the size and the scope of the jungle, I think, helps to keep it pretty wild.
So here are the last two questions.
Yeah.
And one of them is, you love talking about looking at nature, animals, and then bringing those lessons to the human world, right? Mm-hmm. You love that. So being very specific, when you look at this nature and animals, what do you bring back in the human life from the point of view of dominance, submission, protection, motherhood? These are like 4 really incredible emotions which you would be seeing on an everyday basis. Mm-hmm. So do you look at that in animals and see it in humans as well, from the same lens, or do you change your lens?
Well, no, we're not separate from nature. Just tell me again, dominance
and submission. That's almost like your sex and death hands. And then there's protection and motherhood, which is like exact same in humans, and at least the primary instinct is same in humans and animals at the same time.
Look, nature is a balance between all those things. Motherhood, I think, is something that's really cool because it goes across all species. Like for snakes and, certain things have nothing to do with their offspring. Certain crocodilians will lay their eggs and they're gone. A lot of smaller snake species will just lay their eggs and they're gone.
And they don't care.
well, it's not that they don't care. That's just how they work. They don't think like that. That's how they do it. These larger ones like that python that we just handled, she will lay eggs and she will hug them and sit there with them until they hatch. Birds take good care of their eggs. Elephants raise their children for years. Their children, their calves. And as far as the dominance thing, again, it's the economy. I actually heard a clip where you were saying like, no one cares about you. No one's going to come help you. Like you have to. And so, in the world right now, it's getting a little bit, I feel like it's a little bit crowded right now in the sense that it's very difficult to distinguish yourself, whether it's in academics or sports or science or whatever it is. You really have to find a way of blazing your own trail, because either you're going to follow your own dream or be working for someone else's. And if everyone's following their own dream, nothing's ever going to happen. So some people have to be happy to help a project go forward, whether that's in a big company or whether that's in somebody else's startup. But that thing of, differentiating yourself and finding a way. I have so many kids messaging me now saying, how do I do what you do? And I'm like, I don't want you to do what I do. I'm protecting the Amazon. Go out and find a way to help me. And again, go find a master, or go find a scientist who's protecting snow leopards, or go find someone who's protecting things in your backyard. Help them. There's almost always somebody rehabilitating animals in your community. Find them. They're probably crazy, old, and awesome, and have a big heart and no funding because they spend all their time rescuing animals. And it's like, okay, maybe that's not your thing. Somebody told me he wanted to protect great whites in in South Africa. I said, go there, hang out on the docks with the science, because he'd gone to school for marine biology. He goes, I still can't get a job protecting, studying great whites. I said, go. You're in your early 20s. Go sit on the docks, find out who is protecting great whites and studying great whites. Help them carry their gear. Help them take cool pictures of their work that'll help them communicate their work. But put in the time. And just like, the young philosopher that goes up the mountain and finds the great master sitting, meditating, and goes, may I study with you, master? And master, no, go back down the mountain. Yeah, that's going to happen to everybody. That's part of it. You're going to be told no. And then you have to find a way of working past that. Go sit down next to them.
What's your end game now?
Oh, endgame. Endgame is when we realized, endgame happened about a year ago, where we realized that with the narcos coming in from the north, with the logging not stopping, with a new road that was planning, we said, realize that if we don't protect this corridor now, then it's going to be destroyed. And so endgame is the realization that in the next few years, we're either going to save the wildest place on earth, or it's going to be destroyed and it's going to become a memory. And the work that I'm doing with this book and with all these films and with all this stuff that we're doing with Jungle Keepers, it's going to be something that no longer exists. And so endgame is the final push. What we're doing at Jungle Keepers is not a forever project. It's not like we're trying to save the environment or the oceans. No, it's very specific. We're trying to save this river at this moment in time with these animals and these tribes, and we're protecting it from complete destruction. And we have a couple of years to do that. Otherwise, we can only hold back the destruction so long on our own. And so we do this because people all over the world go to junglekeepers.org. They give us $5, $10, $100 a month, whatever their means are. And to me, it doesn't matter how much it is. The fact that people give means they care and they're helping. And so some people write in and they go, hey, look, I can only afford to give you $5 a month. I go, great. That's to me the same as the billionaire who comes in and goes, I'll give you a few $100,000, whatever. It's the same. You help based on what you're able to do. And because there's thousands of people all over the world helping us with these rangers, helping us to protect this land, helping us to bring this message all over the world, we're actually winning. We're actually slowly winning. We're at that point, it's like you get to a great battle and it doesn't look like you can win. And then all of a sudden you go, wait, there might be a chance. And we're at that point where we're going, wait. This might just be possible. And we have the Peruvian government now saying, if you can secure all the land, we will sign it over into national park and it'll be forever protected. But we're not interested in doing all that. We don't have the funding to doing all that. So we have to rely on things like this, where we're talking to massive amounts of people. Get that message out. People are reading the book about what it takes to make a national park, to protect the thing, to find your dream and actually save a piece of the wilderness that still exists. And so endgame is that final push. We're either going to make it or we're not. And like I said, you got to push in all the chips and sort of just say, look, like a tiger chasing a deer. Go, either we're going to live or we won't. Maybe we'll get our skulls split. Maybe we'll starve to death. Maybe I'll get killed by narcos. But we're going to find out what's possible. And if we succeed, we will save tens of millions of wild heartbeats. And if we fail, the entire worlds will burn. It's like Avatar in real life.
Have you made any progress in this?
Just in the last few weeks, with the book coming out and then doing a lot of big podcasts are really influential for people learning this and coming onto the Jungle Keepers. You know, when I was growing up, there was no way to help. You hear, oh, elephants are going to be extinct in our lifetime. You know, tigers are being persecuted. The Amazon rainforest is being destroyed. And I go, well, what can I do? Mm-hmm. And now I get messages from parents all over the world that are like, hey, my kids heard you talking about this. They've always been worried about these animals they love. And now they have a way to protect them through your organization. And we're so proud that we give a small amount every $5. Starbucks coffee is $5 once a month. And now a lot of those, these little raindrops of care, of funding, a lot of raindrops make a flood. And now in the last few weeks, we've started negotiating to protect a new 20,000 acres. On top of the 136,000 acres that we're already protecting, there's another 20 that we're about to try and protect, where the tribes live, where there's all this wildlife. And if we keep getting this type of momentum, we have to protect 300,000 acres. We're at 136. This will put us right up around halfway. If you can do it halfway, you can do it the whole way. And so we're really starting to feel that momentum. I think it's becoming a global movement. And this one's going to be where, this is done by the people. This is people all over the world who are just going, nice. I care. And so we're linking people in every country all over the world that care about the Amazon rainforest. And I think it's going to become the crown jewel of protected nature on Earth. Again, I want to start thinking like a global society, not like, oh, we're over here and you're over there. It's like, no. We all need, when it comes to the environment, we all need to be thinking on a global scale.
So just to follow up on this is, why should somebody sitting in Asia or someone sitting in India or UK or Europe should care about this, should care about Amazon forest? Why should they be paying for this cause? Well,
not everyone should care. It might seem like a weird answer to that, but not everyone should care. And the reason for that is this. There's all kinds of things going on in the world. I just met someone who's sending pads to help young girls menstruating in Africa. That's what she cares about, helping young women in impoverished areas. Great. Focus on that. But then don't also be worrying about the wars that are going on all over the world and the animals, and just your head is going to explode. Focus on one thing, the change that you can affect, and then take dedicated action towards that. And so I love to see this. And so to the people all over the world, some people aren't going to care about what's happening in the Amazon. But back to what I originally said, whether or not you believe in it, the Amazon rainforest is regulating our global climate, stabilizing our weather, producing resources, and is a home to the other beings that we share this earth with. So in some way, you spiritually and chemically, physically rely on the Amazon rainforest for the reality we live in. So it doesn't matter if you care about it, because even if it's 1 out of every 100 people that gets the message and hears about that there's a chance to save this part of the Amazon, those people care about it.
True.
And hopefully the other 99 care about something else. I don't know if there's people that don't care about anything. But people are going to be on different things. And hopefully everyone's doing something in their life. Everyone that has enough to think of what else needs help is doing something valuable that's not just self-centered around themselves.
Fair. Interesting. Right? Thank you so much, man.
Thank you. This was a very interesting conversation. I'm dying to get back to India, and man, I've never seen such a big snake in a room before. That was incredible, man.
Thank you so much. That snake, I'm still, I don't know how to process that.
No, I just want to look at the pictures. Like, it's so cool. It's so cool.
Thank you so much for doing this. This was one of the best conversations and very different than what I usually do.
Very different. I know it's
Thank you so much.
I watched some of your stuff.
Book hata do.
Isko Hindi aata hai.
You understand Hindi or not?
No, I know that one thing. I speak some Kannada. I think what we should do is we layer out on the table. We don't want to to have our faces near her face. So we want to like put her face over there, and we have the body, I think, coming over here, and then we can literally just sit here and talk calmly about her. She should just chill on the table. These guys all who keep snakes, they're like, yeah, she's friendly. I don't believe anything they say.
Why?
Because I work with snakes, and they can be unpredictable. The other thing is, if you get scared, or if she pinches herself, she might jump and just, they go, oh shit, and then they bite. Not their fault, but again, the bite from her would cut you to the bone. So you just have to be careful. It's a little bit of a dance.
Yeah. Thank you so much for watching this episode till the end. Now you have to do 3 things. Number 1, subscribe to this channel right now. The more you subscribe, the better the guests we will be able to get for you. Number 2, please comment and let us know what did we do wrong and what did we do right. Because the more you give us feedback, the better we will be able to make episodes for you. And number 3, please share this episode with at least one person, because one conversation can change someone's entire life. I'll see you next time. Until then, keep figuring out.